Chapter 380. After glancing at his subordinates, Yi Chen nodded. Then, he turned to Sun Qing and said, Wenruo, I will leave Yuzhou to you. Wenruo, I'll leave the affairs of Yuzhou to you. Stabilize Yuzhou as soon as possible so that the people can resume production. Sun Qing was taken aback. Sun Qing had never imagined that Yi Chen would actually hand Yuzhou over to him to govern. This was not a county or a commandery, but a state, a vast Yuzhou. The truth was already very clear. Yi Chen trusted him completely and valued his ability greatly. Otherwise, why would he hand over Yuzhou to him? Sun Qing was thrilled at this thought. When he came back to his senses, he hurriedly bowed and said loudly, Yes, my lord, I will do my best until my last breath. Yi Chen nodded with a smile. Then, he turned to Chen Kun and said, Zhang Wen will be in charge of Yuzhou. Zhang Wen will be in charge of the military of Yuzhou for the time being. Go back to Samsara City with Wenruo. Once more Golden Turban or the Demon Clan comes to Yuzhou, help Han Dang, Cheng Pu, Yin Rou, Mi Zhu, and the others to destroy them. Yes, my lord. Chen Kun hurriedly bowed and said. Yi Chen nodded with a smile. Then he turned to Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gui Yi, Zhao Meng, Gao Shun, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He and said, Let's go to the drill ground. Yes, my lord. When everyone heard this, they all bowed and saluted loudly. After that, they followed Yi Chen to the drill ground. At this moment, Sun Qing and Chen Kun simultaneously cupped their fists and bowed towards Yi Chen's back. They bowed and said loudly, I Kun, wish you a triumphant return, my lord. At this moment, there were many things waiting to be done in Yuzhou. The Golden Turban and the Demon Race could invade Yuzhou from other places at any time. The only thing they needed to do was to get into work as soon as possible and officially manage the political and military affairs of Yuzhou. Therefore, they gave a simple farewell at the Castellan's mansion. Then, they left the Castellan's mansion and rode to Samsara City. On the main street of Zhuo Commandery, when Yi Chen appeared with his subordinates, the players became excited. Look, Boss Yi Chen has brought Zhao Yun, Zheng, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Gui Yi out. Wah, Boss Yi Chen is finally going out of battle? That's great. I was worried that Boss Yi Chen would delay it for another day. Hee, this is great. We can continue to follow behind Boss Yi Chen, kill monsters, get equipment, and get skills. The players were excitedly discussing and shouting. No matter how they looked at it, Yi Chen looked like he was about to go to war. Once Yi Chen went to battle, it meant that Yi Chen was going to start killing again. This was something that the players of Zhuo County had been looking forward to. Only when Yi Chen went to battle would they have a chance to follow behind him and kill the fleeing Jin and Yao. Then, they could level up and get equipment and cultivation techniques. Of course, the players who were discussing and shouting were those who were far away from Yi Chen. As for the players who were close to Yi Chen, no one dared to say anything. At this moment, the players in Zhuo County understood the importance of respect in this era. To be more precise, when facing Yi Chen, they could not address Yi Chen as they did in the real world. They could not say anything disrespectful. Although many people were still not used to it, no one dared to speak to Yi Chen as they did in the real world. They only praised him and wished him well. They wished him victory, kill more Yao, kill more Jin, and get more equipment and cultivation techniques. Yi Chen listened to the discussions of the players far away and the praises of the players close to him. He was not affected at all. How could Yi Chen not know what the players were thinking? They wanted to show their goodwill in front of Yi Chen so that they would not be chased away by Yi Chen. Then, they would not be able to follow Yi Chen to get benefits. But for Yi Chen, allowing the players to follow him was a mutually beneficial thing. Because in this way, Yi Chen did not need to waste time on the fleeing Jin and Yao. The players could kill monsters, level up, and get equipment. Therefore, Yi Chen did not dislike them. Of course, Yi Chen would not be proud of the players' praises, because that kind of compliment was fake. Blessings and goodwill were all there because they could benefit from it. Otherwise, no one would say such things. In the drill ground of Zhuo County, banners fluttered in the wind. Long spears formed a forest. A murderous aura constantly floated. As soon as Yichen appeared, there was a swoosh sound. 41 million Samsara City soldiers uniformly knelt on one knee. Greetings, my lord. 41 million soldiers shouted in unison. Their voices shook the sky and instantly resounded throughout Zhou County. Yichen looked at the Samsara City soldiers who were full of vigor and nodded with satisfaction. Then he shouted, "Today we are going to attack the Jinjin rebels outside Yuzhou and the Yao who are causing chaos and killing humans. Are you confident? Kill, kill, kill." 41 million Samsara City soldiers raised their spears and shouted in unison. Their fighting spirit instantly boiled and then soared to the sky. Yichen looked at the Samsara City soldiers who were full of fighting spirit and nodded with satisfaction. Then he looked at Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun and shouted, "Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun, listen." When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun heard this, they all knelt on one knee and shouted, "Yes, my lord." Yichen's face turned solemn. Then he shouted, "Lead the troops to destroy the Jinjin and Yao in Zhongwu, Bohai, Leilang, and Hejin areas. Then send the troops to Jiulu and join me." Yichen wanted to go to Luoyang, but Jizhou was close to Yuzhou. Yichen could not leave the Jinjin and Yao and Jizhou alone and directly march to Luoyang. As for Yichen's order to Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun to lead the troops to kill the Jinjin, it was also after careful consideration. At this moment, there were 410,000 soldiers in Samsara City who were above the Khanate realm. Apart from the Samsara Legion, Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng's troops were all in the Khanate realm. Even if they encountered the Yao army, it would be easy for them to win. Of course, this was under the premise that they did not encounter a large Yao army. They were like the Fiend Race Coalition army that Yi Chun destroyed earlier. However, this premise would not appear at this moment. At this time, it was the early stage of the Jinjin Rebellion. The Yao and the Great Han Dynasty were all doing their own things and killing humans everywhere. The gathering of the Yao army in Yuzhou was just a special case. Those were some of the bolder demons from the demon race. They wanted to kill Yi Chun, so they gathered together. But in the end, not only did they fail to kill Yi Chun, but they were also killed by Yi Chun. They made a great contribution to Yi Chen's training. Therefore, Yi Chun was not worried that Zhao Yun and the others would encounter any danger. Moreover, even if the Yao army gathered, they would gather in Luoyang. Luoyang was the real key. As long as Lu Hong was killed, the Yao clan would take away the fate of the human race, and the Yao clan would become the protagonists of the world. The Yao clan naturally knew this, so they would not gather in Jizhou. They would gather in Luoyang. "Yes, Lord." When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun heard this, they did not hesitate to salute and respond loudly. For them, all of Yi Chen's orders would be carried out without hesitation. Chapter 381. Yi Chen nodded his head and shouted, "Remember, everyone, remember, no matter who it is, anyone who dares to approach the army will be killed. If anyone dares to pick up loot from the battlefield, kill them." Yi Chen gave this order to prevent Zhao Yunzheng and the others from being ambushed by other players or from stealing any dropped items. After all, they were going to Jizhou. Compared to Yuzhou, Jizhou had more than 10 times the number of players. Once there was an opportunity, players who were hostile to Yi Chun would definitely attack Zhao Yun and the others. Players who wanted to snatch equipment and techniques would also snatch them without hesitation. The reason was simple. Money moved people's hearts. Benefits blinded people. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng led the army to clear out the Golden Scarf and shifters. The players in Zhou County did not dare to attack because they wanted to benefit from Yi Chun. However, the players in other places were not so sure. To Yi Chun, it was best if the players were obedient. If they were not, Yi Chun did not care. He would just kill them. There was no need to be polite. "Yes, Lord, Lord." Hearing this, Zhao Yunzheng, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun bowed in unison. Yi Chun nodded his head and shouted, "Very good. Let's set off immediately." Kill all the golden scarf and shifters. Yes, Lord. Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun bowed again and led 100,000 soldiers to the entrance of Zhuo County City. For a moment, the diamond shone brightly under the morning sun. When he saw Samsara's soldiers wearing diamond equipment, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Diamond equipment sets, innate realm. Whether it was the golden scarf or the shifters, they would cry if they encountered them. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but smirk. He then looked at Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He and shouted, "You will be the vanguard. Attack Zhongshan." "Yes, Lord." When Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He heard this, their eyes all widened. Then they cupped their fists and bowed. With that, the three of them led their respective 100,000 soldiers out of the drill ground. Time passed bit by bit. When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, Zhao Meng, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He led their troops out of the drill ground, a thunderous roar suddenly sounded. Sigh! A golden figure instantly appeared beside Yi Chen. Yi Chen looked at Xiao Jin, the golden Pegasus, who ran over on its own. He smiled and then looked at the remaining 710,000 soldiers of Samsara City. "Get on the horse." "Yes, my lord." The 700,000 soldiers of Samsara City bowed in unison and then mounted their horses in unison. At the same time, the soldiers of the Samsara Legion waved their right hands. Bang, bang, bang. A series of heavy objects fell to the ground. 10,000 gigantic rhinoceroses suddenly appeared on the ground. They were savage beasts, the best of the best. They were also the mounts of the Samsara Legion. The moment the rhinoceroses appeared, the Samsara Legion mounted them in unison. Yi Chen glanced at the 710,000 Samsara City soldiers who had all mounted their mounts. He smiled and shouted, "Let's go! Let's go! Yes, my lord!" The 710,000 soldiers of Samsara City shouted in unison and then followed Yi Chen out of the drill ground. On the main street of Zhuo Commandery, the soldiers of Samsara City marched in square formations one after another. The sternness and the smell of blood constantly stimulated the players on both sides of the street. This was because the soldiers of Samsara City had an indescribable sense of war. They were like unsheathed swords that were sharp and unstoppable. Boss Yi Chen's success is not something that ordinary people can learn from. Do you see that? The soldiers of Samsara City have the taste of a soldier. Steel, sternness, and majesty. That's right. The soldiers of other lords don't have such an aura. Compared to Boss Yi Chen's soldiers, their soldiers are simply trash. Wait, that's not right. Boss Yi Chen only had 400,000 soldiers before. Now, he has 700,000 soldiers. Are you stupid? I forgot that Boss Yi Chen received 10 heaven rank recruitment orders. He must have used them all. Damn, 1,000,000 soldiers? Can the equipment keep up? Didn't you see that the equipment of the Samsara City soldiers that passed by were all diamond level? Obviously, Boss Yi Chen must have made good equipment. Even if they weren't diamond level, they couldn't be too bad. TSK. How? How much money did he spend? How much did he spend? Boss Yi Chen robbed Wu Huan. He has so much money that he can't spend it all. While the players were still in shock, Yi Chen's Samsara Legion and 700,000 soldiers of Samsara City arrived on the main street. The moment Yi Chen appeared, the players became excited. This was because they had originally planned to follow Yi Chen and gain some benefits. When Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng left, a group of players followed them. When Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He left, another group of players followed them. Now that Yi Chen had appeared, the remaining players naturally wouldn't continue to wait. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the chance to do so. Of course, the remaining players made this choice on purpose. In their eyes, the super-historical generals were powerful, but no matter how powerful they weren't as powerful as Yi Chen. Therefore, they chose to follow Yi Chen because it was definitely the safest way. Outside the south gate of Zhuo County, Yi Chen led 710,000 soldiers of Samsara City out of the gate and shouted, "Haste! Our destination is Zhongshan County." After Yi Chen finished speaking, he squeezed his horse's belly and took the lead in charging towards Zhongshan County. In the next second, the savage rhinos of the Samsara Legion moved their hooves and followed closely behind Yi Chun towards Zhongshan County. Chapter 382. The 700,000 new recruits of Samsara City spurred their horses and followed the Samsara Legion to the southwest. Rumble! The earth trembled as the horses galloped. The army of Samsara City left. The ground that had been filled with smoke and dust was instantly filled with dust. The players in Zhuo Commandery rushed out. Those who had horses chased after them. Those who didn't had to run on foot. The densely packed player army followed Yi Chun with all their might as they charged towards Zhongshan County. Soon, the leader of Beauty Alliance, Li Mingyao, led her subordinates to the south gate of Zhuo Commandery. Glancing at the dusty southwest, Li Mingyao mounted her horse and yelled, "Brother Yi, remember, don't fight with others on purpose. Don't steal from others on purpose. Don't pick up the equipment and skills that Yi Chun dropped, even if it's a saint-level skill. Don't attack the Golden Scarf or shifters who are being attacked by Yi Chun's army. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Sister Yao. Sister Yao Yao." The members of Beauty's alliance shouted without hesitation. Li Mingyao nodded and shouted again, "Remember, the world is different now. You have to remember that the world now is different from before. If women don't strive for self-improvement, they will become men's playthings. If you want to live with dignity, you have to seize this opportunity. Whether you can live well or not depends on this." Li Mingyao's words caused the members of Beauty's alliance to show a serious expression. Some of them even had a look of resentment. It was obvious that these women had experienced something unpleasant or seen something unpleasant. Otherwise, they wouldn't be like this. Li Mingyao looked at the members of Beauty Alliance and shouted, "This world is different now. This world is no longer the same. Everyone can continue to grow stronger. Women can also become experts. Tell me, do you dare to fight? Do you dare to fight?" "Yes, we dare." The tens of thousands of women from Beauty's alliance shouted loudly. Although their voices were uneven, what was revealed was their tenacious conviction. Obviously, these women didn't want to be bullied and tortured. They didn't want to live a cruel and dark life. In order to live well, they were willing to fight. "Very good, let's go." Li Mingyao nodded and shouted. After that, she mounted her horse and chased towards the southwest. The members of Beauty's alliance also got on their horses and followed Li Mingyao to the southwest. Zhongshan County, outside the county city. Battle cries that shook the heavens resounded throughout the wilderness. The four walls of Zhongshan Prefecture City were being attacked by the Golden Scarf Army, which stretched as far as the eye could see. The corpses below the city were piled up like a mountain. There were both Golden Scarf soldiers and Greyhound soldiers. Of course, more than 90% of them were Golden Scarf soldiers. Some of the Golden Scarf soldiers who hadn't died yet let out miserable shrieks. However, no one was paying attention, and no one was helping. The siege continued, and the slaughter continued. The Golden Scarf soldiers attacked the city in groups without fear of death, but they were constantly shot down from the siege ladders by arrows, stones, and rolling logs. On the city walls, the Zhongshan County soldiers were already exhausted, but they continued to attack the Golden Scarf Army. Because they couldn't retreat. If they retreated, they would fall into a bottomless abyss. Because there were 30 million people behind them, and because they had nowhere to run. Of course, the most important thing was that two new generals and a new and extremely capable military advisor had given them hope. Because of these three people, Zhongshan County was able to survive until now. Under Zhongshan County City, where the Golden Scarf Army's commander flag was. A golden flag with the word Zhang embroidered on it fluttered in the wind. If Yi Chun saw this flag, he would immediately recognize that it was the flag that only the three leaders of the Golden Scarf Army could use. Anyone could use the flag with the word Zhang on it, but only Zhang Jiao, Zhang Bao, and Zhang Liang could use the golden flag of the Golden Scarf Army. A Golden Scarf Army general looked at Zhongshan County City, hesitated, and then looked at the commander of the Golden Scarf Army and bowed. General Run, Zhongshan County hasn't been conquered for a long time. There must be someone capable. If we continue to attack, I'm afraid. A player in his 20s from the Golden Scarf Army suddenly smiled and bowed. General Run, you're wrong. General Tao's words are incorrect. Although Chu Yi, Gao Lan, and Tian Feng of Zhongshan County possess extraordinary abilities, they are currently at the end of their rope. At most, they will be able to attack the city twice more before Zhongshan County will definitely be captured. At that time, General Ren Gong will be able to reform the 30 million citizens in the city. Why should we be so calculative over such minor losses? How dare you? You don't have the right to speak here. Tao Sheng was furious when he heard this and roared. Shut up. General Zhang Liang frowned at this moment and then shouted in a deep voice. Tao Sheng's expression changed when he heard this. He quickly bowed and cupped his fists. I'm guilty. Please punish me, General Run. Zhang Liang glanced at Tao Sheng and didn't reply. He then looked at the player who spoke and asked, Are you sure there are 30 million people in Zhongshan County? The player from the Golden Scarf Army hurriedly bowed and said, General Run, I'm sure of this. General Run, please be at ease. Your humble servant is willing to guarantee with my head that there are 30 million civilians in Zhongshan County. Moreover, Zhongshan County's arrows, stones, and kerosene are about to run out. They won't be able to hold out for much longer. At that time, Zhenju, who's hiding in Zhongshan County, and the 30 million people in the city will become General Ren's. Zhang Liang's eyes widened when he heard this, and he shouted, You mutants have extraordinary means. If what you said is true, I will definitely remember your great contribution. At this moment, an earth-shattering explosion suddenly sounded. It became clearer and louder. Chapter 383. When Zhang Liang heard the rumbling, he frowned and looked towards the source of the sound. In the next second, Zhang Liang's slanted eyes suddenly shrank. He saw a large group of Great Han cavalry appear in the northeast. At a rough glance, there were 300,000 of them. Of course, this was not enough to shock Zhang Liang. 300,000 cavalry seemed like a lot, but in front of the Golden Scarf Army of 10 million, it was not enough. However, what Zhang Liang didn't expect was that the 300,000 cavalrymen that suddenly appeared were shining like diamonds. Diamond Light was a special effect unique to diamond-grade equipment. So how could Zhang Liang not know about it? It was obvious that the 300,000 Great Han cavalry soldiers that had suddenly appeared were all wearing diamond-grade equipment. This was what shocked Zhang Liang the most. Zhang Liang had never heard of the Great Han Empire's army having such equipment. Even the Great Han Empire's Emperor Liu Hong's imperial army did not have such extravagant equipment. However, there was a sudden appearance of 300,000 cavalrymen, all of whom were equipped with diamond-level equipment. How could Zhang Liang not be shocked? Whose soldiers are those? Why are they all wearing diamond-grade equipment? Zhang Liang came back to his senses and looked at Tao Sheng as he asked with an ugly expression. This? Tao Sheng opened his mouth, but he did not know what to say. He had never come into contact with such an army. So how could he know who these 300,000 Great Han cavalry belonged to? The Golden Scarf faction player's eyes flashed with joy and hatred. He then looked at Zhang Liang and cupped his fists as he loudly said, General Run, General Ren Gong. That's the cavalry of the Great Han Empire's cavalry, General Yi Chun. It must be that bastard Yi Chun who led the troops here. General Run, this is a good opportunity. If we kill Yi Chun, General Ren's name will spread throughout the Great Han Empire. At that time, wherever General Ren goes, the Great Han Empire's army will be terrified and surrender to General Run. Yi Chun's equipment was not spread among the Great Han Empire's natives, but the players knew about it in detail. Therefore, when the 300,000 cavalrymen wearing diamond-grade equipment appeared, this Gold Scarf faction player recognized them immediately. The meaning behind his words was clearly to encourage Zhang Liang to kill Yi Chun. Zhang Liang's eyes glittered when he heard this. It was obvious that Zhang Liang was tempted. Zhao Ri Tian, how dare you? Tao Sheng's eyes widened when he heard this. and then he shouted loudly. Zhao Ritian's intention was too obvious. How could Tao Sheng not see through it? It was precisely because he saw through it that Tao Sheng was enraged. Who was Yi Chun? He was the general of the Great Han Empire's swift cavalry and the governor of Yuzhou. His military exploits were illustrious, and he had never been defeated before. If Yi Chun was the one leading the troops and appeared behind the Golden Scarf army, then the danger would not be small. What they should do now was to defend themselves or retreat instead of relying on their numbers to fight against the Samsara City army. Shut up! Zhang Liang furrowed his brows and shouted. After that, he looked at Zhao Ritian and asked, Zhao Ritian, is what you said true? Were those cavalrymen the soldiers of the general of agile cavalry, Yi Chun? And Yi Chun is here too? If Yi Chun was here, he would immediately realize that Zhao Ritian was a tragic character that he had heard about in the world announcement when he was in Luoyang. Because he was killed by Zhongli for conspiracy, his level was reset to 0, and he had to start all over again. After that, he was posted on the world announcement. In Yi Chen's memories of his previous life, there was no such person as Zhao Ritian. Therefore, Yi Chen's understanding of Zhao Ritian was limited to that one world announcement. If Yi Chen knew that Zhao Ritian was so unlucky because his scheme against Yi Chun failed and he was killed by Zhang Li, he would definitely summon the Godslayer and stab him to death. Of course, Yi Chen did not know this. However, this was not important. The important thing was that Yi Chun was not afraid of any enemy. And Yi Chen had already expected that someone would plot against him. Because everything that Yi Chun had made people jealous and jealous, it would be strange if no one plotted against him. This was also the main reason why Yi Chun refused to accept any players as his underlings all this time. When Zhao Ritian heard Zhang Liang's question, his eyes lit up. He quickly bowed and said, General Run, what I said is true. Reporting to General Run, everything this subordinate said is true. That Yi Chun rejoices in grandiose achievements and is insufferably arrogant. It is precisely because of his good equipment that he can continuously win battles. Furthermore, General Ren Gong has millions of soldiers under his command, including 200,000 Golden Scarf warriors. That traitor Yi Chun only has 400,000 soldiers at most. Even if they're all cavalry, they won't be able to do anything. Therefore, it will be easy for General Ren Gong to eliminate that traitor Yi Chun. To Zhao Ritian, Yi Chun was the person he hated the most. He wanted Yi Chun to be torn apart by 5 horses. This was because all his plans had failed because of Yi Chun. It was Yi Chun who caused him to lose so much money and forced him to start all over again. He hated Yi Chun. He hated Yi Chun so much that he would think of ways to kill Yi Chun every night. However, he had never thought of one thing. The reason why he had lost so much was because he had plotted against Yi Chun. If he had not plotted against Yi Chun, he would not have been killed by Zhang Li, and his level would not have been reset. Unfortunately, he did not think that he was wrong. And now, he had risen again. With his glib tongue and huge amount of money, he had gained the trust of Zhang Liang, one of the 3 bosses of the Golden Scarf faction. With Zhang Liang's help, he had built a town for the Golden Scarf faction in the game world. It would soon be upgraded to a city. In the real world, he had also built a territory and developed it into a town. It would not be long before it would also be upgraded to a city. Moreover, he had a huge army in both the game world and the real world. There were millions of Golden Scarf soldiers who were completely under his command. Therefore, he wanted revenge. He wanted to take revenge on Yi Chun. However, with Yi Chen's fierce reputation, he did not dare to do it himself. Even if he did, these few soldiers would not be enough to fill the gaps between Yi Chen's teeth. Therefore, he wanted to use Zhang Liang to make Zhang Liang kill Yi Chun. Then, he could gather people to attack Samsara City and take away everything that Yi Chun had. He would make Yi Chun suffer the pain that he had suffered. When Tao Sheng heard this, his expression changed. He hurriedly bowed and said, General Ren Gong, Yi Chun is the only war god in the Great Han Empire in the past few hundred years. He has never lost a battle and often exterminated enemies that are 10 times, or even 100 times stronger than him. I implore General Ringong to return to Julu first. When Zhang Liang heard this, his excited face immediately froze. He then looked at Tao Sheng and shouted, "Brother Tao, don't blame me. Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, Pei Yuan Xiao, listen up." Chapter 384. When Tao Sheng heard this, his face changed again. This was because Zhang Liang did not seem like he would listen to him. Tao Sheng wanted to continue speaking, but he was pulled back by Wu Heng, the deputy general. Tao Sheng clenched his teeth and bowed together with Wu Heng and Pei Yuan Xiao. "Yes, sir. The three of you. Lead 3 million soldiers and kill Yi Chun for me." Zhang Liang glanced at the three of them before he yelled out, "Yes, sir." Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, and Pei Yuan Xiao bowed together when they heard this. General Ringong. This humble one suggests that General Ringong used the Golden Scarf warriors. That Yi Chen's subordinates are veterans of the battlefield. Furthermore, they are capable of summoning white tigers. Only the Golden Scarf warriors would be able to contend against them. At this moment, Zhao Ritian suddenly bowed. "What did you say? Yi Chen can summon the white tiger?" Zhang Liang's face changed when he heard this, and he shouted in shock. "Yes, General Ringong." Zhao Ritian's face changed slightly as he bowed and said. Zhao Ritian did not expect Zhang Liang to have such a big reaction when he heard that Yi Chen could summon the white tiger. From his point of view, the only people who knew about the white tiger's power were the dead and the players. It was unlikely that Zhang Liang knew about it. However, Zhang Liang's reaction clearly told Zhao Ritian that he knew about the white tiger's power. This was what Zhao Ritian did not want to see the most. This was because once Zhang Liang knew about the white tiger's power, he might not dare to fight against Yi Chen. If that happened, his plan to use Zhang Liang to eliminate Yi Chen would fail completely. In order to deal with Yi Chen, Zhao Ritian purposely mentioned the existence of Zhenju and told Zhang Liang about her name, Goddess Luo. Just as Zhao Ritian expected, after Zhang Liang knew about Zhenju, he immediately sent people to Wuji County to capture her and use her blood to create a special rune. However, before Zhang Liang sent his troops to Wuji County, Zhao Ritian secretly sent someone to inform the Zhen family. After that, the entire Zhen clan fled to Zhongshan Prefecture City. Zhang Liang's men went to Zhongshan Prefecture City, but they were unable to take down the huge city. Zhao Ritian then persuaded Zhang Liang to personally lead the troops to Zhongshan County to capture Zhenju Sei. He said that Zhenju Sei was a special character and must be suppressed by the Son of Heaven. In Zhao Ritian's opinion, as long as Zhang Liang appeared in Zhongshan County, there was a high chance that he would bump into Yi Chen. It had to be known that Yi Chen was the Great Han Empire's general of light cavalry. Currently, the Great Han Empire was in constant chaos, and the demons were wreaking havoc. It was impossible for Yi Chen to run around blindly just to kill demons in golden turbans. He would definitely go to Luoyang to help them out. Otherwise, Lu Hong would definitely punish Yi Chen. At the very least, he would remove Yi Chen from his position. On the other hand, Zhongshan County was a place one had to pass through to reach Luoyang from Yuzhou. In the end, just as Zhao Ritian had expected, Zhang Liang led the troops to Zhongshan County, and Yi Chen's subordinates also appeared in Zhongshan County. Zhao Ritian had calculated step by step, and he had never made a mistake. But now, at the most critical moment, Zhang Liang actually became timid after hearing that Yi Chen could summon the white tiger. At this moment, Zhao Ritian was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. He had thought about not telling Zhang Liang that Yi Chen could summon the white tiger, but he did not dare to not tell him. He was now in Golden Turban's camp. If Zhang Liang found out that Yi Chen could summon the white tiger, and he did not tell him, Zhang Liang would take back everything he owned. He was very sure of this, so Zhao Ritian did not dare to not tell him. But who would have thought that the situation that he did not want to see the most happened? Zhang Liang became timid. Innate stage battle formation. Damn it. No wonder Big Brother said that Yi Chen was Golden Turban's greatest enemy. Zhang Liang looked at the approaching army with a gloomy face and said in a deep voice, "How dare you? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Tao Sheng looked at Zhao Ritian furiously and shouted. Tao Sheng did not know what the innate stage battle formation was, but he knew what the white tiger was. It was a legendary divine beast, and there was nothing in the mortal world that could stop the white tiger. General Tao, although the white tiger is powerful, General Rungong's golden scarf warrior is not weak either. In fact, it is even stronger. It will definitely be able to kill Yi Chun. Hearing this, Zhao Riqian immediately showed an expression of absolute certainty and shouted loudly. Zhao Riqian's expression and gaze made him look like a fanatic of golden turbans. Anyone who saw Zhao Riqian's expression would think that Zhao Riqian was a die-hard fan of golden turbans. However, the truth was that Zhao Riqian wanted to make a last effort to encourage Zhang Liang to deal with Yi Chun. It did not matter even if Zhang Liang's entire army was wiped out. As long as he could kill Yi Chun, Zhao Riqian did not care about Zhang Liang or General Rungong. Zhang Liang looked at Zhao Riqian and said, Zhao Riqian is right. It's just a white tiger. How can it be a match for the golden turbans? Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, Pei Yuan Xiao, quickly lead the army to stop Yi Chun. I will use the golden turbans to assist you. You must stop Yi Chun for an hour. Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, and Pei Yuan Xiao were all stunned. Zhang Liang clearly knew the power of the white tiger, but he still did not order them to retreat and avoid Yi Chun's army. It was not a wise decision to ask them to stop him. Zhang Liang saw that his three subordinates were stunned and immediately showed a displeased expression. He then said in a deep voice, the white tiger was summoned by the inborn battle formation, white tiger battle formation. Ordinary soldiers will not be able to stop it, let alone kill it. All you need to do is to stop it. I will send more troops to continue attacking Zhongshan County. After we break through the city, we will snatch Zhunju and bring him back to Jilu. Hand him over to my brother, General Rungong, to refine the runes. This way, Yi Chun will not be able to summon the white tiger. Even if he can summon the vermilion bird, it will be useless. Yes, General. Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, and Pei Yuan Xiao heard this, and their faces turned solemn. They then bowed and said. Zhao Ritian's face was distorted at this moment, but he quickly returned to normal. The reason was simple. Zhang Liang wanted to escape. He wanted to escape before the battle even started. This way, his plan had really failed. Very well, go. Lead 50,000 golden turbans and stop Yi Chun for an hour. Zhang Liang nodded and shouted. After that, he waved his right hand and a jade talisman appeared in his hand. He then threw it to Tao Sheng. Yes, General Rungong. Tao Sheng caught the jade talisman and bowed again. Then, he led Wu Heng, Pei Yuan Xiao, 50,000 golden turbans, and 3 million golden turbans to the rear of the golden turbans army. Rumble. Thousands of horses galloped and the earth rumbled. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He looked at each other and nodded at the golden turbans army that was about to come into contact with them. In the next second, the three of them shouted in unison, pass down my order. Cavalry and archery, 500 meters away. Cavalry and archery, do not stop. When the three messengers heard this, they hurriedly turned their horses around and shouted as they ran. General's order. Cavalry and archery, 500 meters away. Cavalry and archery, do not stop. Soon, the 300,000 soldiers of Samsara City received the order. They picked up their bows, knocked their arrows, and shot at the Golden Scarf Army. Chapter 385. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air was heard. 300,000 arrows flew into the sky and landed on the Golden Scarf Army. The arrows were so dense that they covered the sky. The Golden Turban Army was at the back. Sword and shield soldiers. Where the sword and shield soldiers. A golden scarf 1,000-man commander's pupils abruptly constricted as he cried out in alarm. He had discovered the Samsara City army and had ordered someone to report it to Zhang Liang. But now, without Zhang Liang's order, he did not dare to move. He could only stay put and defend. Together with the other Kiliarchs, he ordered their archers to attack the Samsara City army as soon as they entered their shooting range. However, He did not expect that the Samsara City army would attack them before they entered their shooting range. At that moment, he and the other Kiliarchs were disdainful of the Samsara City army. They were more than 2,000 meters away from the Samsara City army. How could the arrows reach them? However, when the arrow flew halfway and was still in the air, his face turned pale. This could only mean one thing. The Samsara City army's attack range was more than 2,000 meters. Such a terrifying attack range meant that they could only take the arrows and could not fight back. Therefore, he panicked and shouted without hesitation. "Damn it! The sword and shield soldiers have been sent to attack the city. What should we do?" A golden-scarved Chiliarch looked up at the sky and the arrows that were about to cover the sky and cover the sun as he yelled with a face full of terror. Spread out to the sides." A roar suddenly came from the middle of the Golden Turban Army. That was Tao Sheng's voice. Tao Sheng, who was riding on a war horse, naturally saw the arrows that covered the sky. He did not expect the arrows of Samsara City's army to have such a long range. Therefore, he gave the order without hesitation. If they did not disperse, the casualties would be terrible. The Kiliarchs at the back of the Golden Turban Army suddenly felt confident. They had wanted to disperse and even run away. But without the order, no one dared to move because there was only one result. They would be killed immediately. General's order: disperse. Disperse quickly. One after another, loud roars rang out instantly. The golden scarf soldiers, who had been frightened by the arrows that blotted out the sky, started running without hesitation. However, it was too late. The speed of the arrow was much faster than the running speed of the person. Just as the soldiers of the Golden Scarf Army began to run for their lives in two different directions, the arrows fell to the ground. Poochie, poochie, poochie. The sound of arrows piercing into flesh rang out one after another. In an instant, more than 100,000 Golden Scarf soldiers were killed on the spot. There were also hundreds of thousands of Golden Scarf soldiers. They were either lying on the ground, twitching, struggling, or howling in pain. The Golden Scarf Army's rear formation, which was originally quite dense, was instantly cleared. Looking at the miserable state of the Golden Scarf Army's rear formation, Tao Sheng was so angry that his eyes almost popped out. Swordsmen and shield-bearers, come forward quickly. He wanted the sword and shield warriors to block the arrows of the Samsara City army and prevent the Golden Turban Army from being attacked again. This was because the Samsara City army would not only attack once. Just as he expected, less than 2 seconds after the rain of arrows hit the ground, 300,000 arrows rose into the air and shot toward the Golden Scarf Army. Spread out! Spread out! Vice General Wu Heng saw this and roared with a ferocious face. The soldiers of the Golden Scarf Army, especially those who were in the attack range of the arrows, turned pale and their legs trembled. They even ran for their lives before Wu Heng finished his words. They wanted to avoid the attack range of the arrows. They did not want to be shot to death or injured like those who were hit by the arrows before. However, they thought too much. The Golden Scarf Army's formation was very dense. How could they run away? A few seconds later, the arrows that blotted out the sky fell to the ground. The Golden Scarf soldiers who hadn't been able to escape the attack range of the arrows suddenly widened their eyes, their faces full of horror. Poochie, poochie, poochie. The sound of arrows piercing into flesh rang out again. More than 100,000 Golden Scarf soldiers were shot to death on the spot. Then, more than 100,000 Golden Scarf soldiers were injured by the arrows. Miserable howls and cries rang out in an instant. Shameless people, do you dare to fight with me? Pei Yuan Shao looked at the miserable state of the Golden Scarf Army and flew into a rage. Then, he roared at the Samsara City's army. However, the answer he got was 300,000 cold and merciless arrows that blotted out the sky. The arrows fell down like rain. It was breathtaking. Shameless. Shameless. Wu Heng raised his weapon and roared with a ferocious face. Poochie, poochie, poochie. The sound of arrows piercing into flesh rang out again. More than 100,000 Golden Scarf soldiers were taken away, leaving behind more than 100,000 injured Golden Scarf soldiers. Rumble. 10,000 horses galloped and the earth rumbled. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang he led the 300,000 Samsara City soldiers and were still galloping toward the Golden Scarf army. That guy wants to fight with us one-on-one. Should we stop first? Zhang San glanced at Pei Yuan Shao and his men who were charging out of the Golden Scarf army and then asked Guan Er and Zhang He. When two armies are facing each other, we can have a general duel before the battle. Now that the attack has started, there is no need to fight with him. Even if we fight, we should do it after we run out of arrows, Guan Er hurriedly said. Zhang He glanced at Guan Er and Zhang San and then said with a smile, General Guan is right. Brother Ida, don't worry. After we run out of arrows, the morale of the Golden Scarf army will plummet. Then, we can have a general duel. This way, the morale of the Golden Scarf army will be further damaged. In this way, we will definitely win this battle. Zhang San's eyes lit up when he heard this. Then he said, That's good. Let them live a little longer. Later, I will kill that guy with my own hands. As for the other two, Brother Yun Chong and Brother Feng, he will each have one. We are all good brothers. I won't take all of them. What do you think? When Guan Er and Zhang He heard this, they both smiled and said in unison, Okay. The three of them had just joined Samsara City and followed Yi Chun. They had not made any contributions and needed to consolidate their positions. In this way, they could prove that Yi Chun had not misjudged them and that they were indeed qualified to be generals. While the three of them were talking, the Samsara City army shot another wave of arrows. Hundreds of thousands of Golden Scarf army soldiers were killed again. At this time, the Samsara City army was about 500 meters away from the Golden Scarf army. In the Golden Scarf army's camp, Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, and Pei Yuan Shao led their troops to the rear of the Golden Scarf army. Looking at the corpses and the twitching and screaming wounded soldiers on the ground, Tao Sheng's face turned livid. He then looked at the Samsara City army with ferocious eyes and shouted, Archers, get ready. Chapter 386. As soon as Tao Sheng finished his words, the golden turban archers that he brought with him drew their bows and aimed at the army of Samsara City. Rumble. Thousands of horses galloped, and the earth shook. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He led the 300,000 soldiers. When they were about to enter the shooting range of the golden turban archers, they turned to the southeast and galloped past them. At the same time, the 300,000 soldiers of Samsara City raised their bows and shot again. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 300,000 arrows flew out in an instant and shot towards the golden turban archers. The golden turban archers were at the back. When Tao Sheng saw this, his expression changed. He roared, Shameless thieves! Shameless thieves! At this moment, Tao Sheng, the general of the golden turban archers, was furious. He did not expect that the army of Samsara City would not confront him head-on. They just flashed past him. They were even out of the shooting range. The golden turban archers could not hit them at all. General, give the order. Order the golden turban archers to attack. Otherwise, we'll be led by the nose. Wu Heng's eyes narrowed. He looked at Tao Sheng and shouted hurriedly, General, give the order. They will definitely not enter the shooting range of our archers. If this goes on, we will be attacked passively. By then, none of our soldiers will be left. Pei Yuan Shao looked at Tao Sheng with an ashen face and cupped his fists. At this moment, arrows that covered the sky fell to the ground. Puff, puff, puff. The sound of arrows piercing into flesh could be heard one after another. The golden turban archers were instantly killed. More than 200,000 of them were killed on the spot. The reason was simple. These people had been desperately squeezing to the sides. It was hard for them not to be shot. They could not even dodge the arrows. Tao Sheng casually deflected the arrows with his weapon. He looked at the golden turban army that had been wiped out again with a livid face. Without thinking, he took out a jade talisman and shouted, Let's go. Golden turban archers, listen to my order. Kill these cavalrymen of Samsara City. Leave no one alive. As soon as Tao Sheng finished his words, the jade talisman emitted a ball of light. The 50,000 gold scarf warriors who followed Tao Sheng widened their eyes. Then they pulled out 3 talismans from their waists and stuck them on their bodies. A golden light instantly lit up, and the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen, who were originally shirtless, instantly shone with golden light. If Yi Chen were here, he would immediately recognize the origin of these talisman papers. It was the strength talisman, thick earth talisman, and Vajra talisman that the golden scarf strongmen had used to kill Huang Kong. These would greatly increase the golden scarf warrior's strength and defense. Moreover, it would produce a layer of protective barrier on the surface of the body, which was known as invulnerable. At this moment, Tao Shan was beyond angry. He had originally wanted to wait for Yi Chen to summon the white tiger before using the golden scarf strongman. But now, he didn't dare to delay. If he delayed any longer, his soldiers would all die. The heavens are dead, and the yellow heavens shall rise. In the 60-year cycle, the world will be blessed. The 50,000 golden scarf strongmen shouted in unison. In the next second, the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen moved together and chased after the army of Samsara City. They were extremely fast, far faster than ordinary soldiers. Of course, no matter how fast they couldn't be faster than the galloping horses. Rumble, 10,000 horses galloped, and the earth trembled. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He turned their heads to look at the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen who suddenly rushed out. The moment they saw them, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He's expressions changed. Although they didn't know what the golden scarf strongmen were, they felt an aura similar to that of the army of Samsara City from them. To be precise, the aura was similar to that of the soldiers under the command of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Gao Shun, and Zhao Meng. Of course, the aura of the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen was much weaker. But even so, it told Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He one thing. These 50,000 golden scarf strongmen were extraordinary. These shirtless golden scarf strongmen are unusual. It's likely that arrows can't hurt them. We can't let the soldiers come into contact with them. Guan Er narrowed his eyes and shouted in a deep voice. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He had originally planned to fight in a roundabout way and continuously kill the golden scarf strongmen with arrows. This way it would be safe, convenient, and convenient. They could kill the enemy and train the soldiers. But now, 50,000 unusual golden scarf strongmen suddenly rushed out. Naturally, their plan would be affected. For example, when they turn around and the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen block the way, they could only continue forward. If they turn around, they would definitely run into the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen. Of course, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He weren't afraid at all. No matter how strong the golden scarf strongmen were, they were at most king-level generals. Guan Er and Zhang San were saint-level generals, and Zhang, he was an emperor-level general. There was no need for them to be afraid. However, the soldiers they had brought were all new recruits. Although their equipment was of high quality, their strength could not compare to the golden scarf strongmen. If they ran into the golden scarf strongmen, even if Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He could kill a few of them, some of the soldiers they brought would be killed by the golden scarf strongmen. No matter how many of his subordinates were killed, it was not something Guan Er wanted to see. Otherwise, Guan Er wouldn't have said this. When Zhang San heard this, his eyes widened as he angrily roared, "Shoot them to death. This daddy doesn't believe that they're made of iron." Zhang He glanced at the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen again and said, "The golden scarf they're wearing should be protected by a protective shield. Their bodies are wrapped in a golden light shield, which should have a very strong protective effect. Let's test them first and see how strong they are, so that we won't have to trouble the Lord. If not, we can kill them ourselves. It'll just take some time." Okay. Guan Er and Zhang San nodded their heads in agreement. A second later, Zhang San, Guan Er, and Zhang He looked at the messenger beside them and shouted, "Issue a command." Pass the order. The war horses galloped forward at the same speed. Aim at the 50,000 topless golden scarf soldiers and fire. When the 3 messengers heard this, they hurriedly bowed and said, "Yes, generals." Then they ran to pass on the order of Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He. A few seconds later, The 300,000 soldiers of Samsara City drew their bows and aimed at the golden scarf strongmen. Then they released the bowstrings. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of something piercing through the air was instantly heard. 300,000 arrows rapidly shot towards the 50,000 golden scarf warriors who were charging towards them. After a few breaths, 300,000 arrows fell where the golden scarf strongmen were. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A series of buzzing sounds were heard. The 300,000 arrows were all blocked by the golden scarf strongmen. Then they were bounced off by the golden scarf strongmen and fell to the ground with tinkling sounds. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He, who had been watching the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen, suddenly narrowed their eyes. The three of them looked at each other and took out their bows. Then they aimed at the golden scarf strongmen and shot at them. The 3 arrows were as fast as lightning and arrived in front of the golden scarf strongmen in an instant. The golden scarf strongmen, which had just blocked the soldiers of Samsara City, shattered the moment the arrows fell. Puff, puff, puff. The sound of 3 arrows piercing through bodies was instantly heard. 3 golden scarf strongmen were shot to death on the spot. However, the arrows did not stop. They continued to move forward. Crash! The golden scarf strongmen broke. Puff! The arrows pierced through their bodies. It was not until the 3 arrows had pierced through 12 golden scarf strongmen that one of them stopped. The other 2 arrows continued to move forward. They did not stop until they had pierced through another 5 golden scarf strongmen. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He were all relieved when they saw this. Damn it, I thought they were really invulnerable. It turns out that they're just good-looking but useless. Zhang San spat disdainfully and then roared. Hearing this, Guan Er could not help but smile. He stroked his long beard and said, "They are indeed strong, but they can't defend against the attack of the primordial realm. We are all new soldiers, so we can't hurt them. Tell the soldiers to follow us closely. As long as the golden scarf strongmen are within the attack range, they can attack at will. As for those bare-chested strongmen, the 3 of us will take care of them." Okay. When Zhang San and Zhang He heard this, they immediately smiled and replied in unison. Chapter 387. Soon, their orders were passed down. The 300,000 soldiers of Samsara City ignored the 50,000 golden scarf strongmen and chose to attack the ordinary golden scarf soldiers. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He began to shoot arrows at the golden scarf strongmen. Rows and rows of golden scarf strongmen were shot to death by the 3 generals. Even so, the golden scarf strongmen did not stop. No one was afraid. They continued to chase after the 300,000 soldiers of Samsara City. At the golden scarf strongmen's position, Tao Sheng, who had been pleasantly surprised by the ineffective attacks of Samsara City's army, froze in an instant. Then he turned livid. He had not expected the 3 generals of Samsara City to be able to shoot golden scarf strongmen with talisman paper as if they were candied haws. Even if Tao Sheng attacked personally, he could only kill 3 golden scarf strongmen at most. However, the generals of Samsara City could kill at least 12 golden scarf strongmen with 1 arrow. This undoubtedly told Tao Sheng one thing. The 3 generals of Samsara City were all powerful and far more powerful than him. Most importantly, the golden scarf strongmen could not catch up with the army of Samsara City. Not only could they not catch up with them, but they were also shot to death by the 3 generals. Damn it, how could the general of agile cavalry have such powerful generals? Wu Heng roared angrily as he looked at the golden scarf strongmen who were shot to death. He had thought that the army of Samsara City that attacked the golden scarf strongmen was led by Yi Chun. However, he did not see Yi Chun's flag with the word Yi on it. In this case, there was only one explanation. Yi Chun was not among the army of Samsara City that came here. However, the army of Samsara City without Yi Chun also gave him the feeling that he could not defeat them. Tao Sheng didn't like this feeling very much, but it really happened. "General, we can't go on like this. If they target the golden scarf strongmen, I'm afraid that these 50,000 golden scarf strongmen." Pei Yuan Shao looked at the golden scarf strongmen who had been shot to death and said with a gloomy face, "I know." Tao Sheng tried to calm his violently beating heart and shouted in a deep voice. After he finished saying those words, he picked up the jade talisman. After a moment of hesitation, he clenched his teeth and directly crushed the jade talisman. The moment the jade talisman shattered, a red light suddenly shot out and enveloped the less than 50,000 Golden Scarf warriors. A tyrannical aura instantly emerged from the body of the Golden Scarf warrior. That was a special effect brought about by the advancement. It was obvious that the Gold Scarf warriors that Tao Sheng had brought along had been forcefully raised by a realm by the Jade Talisman, advancing to the Khanate realm. To put it simply, after the Jade Talisman was crushed, it was equivalent to Zhang Jiao personally blessing the Golden Scarf warrior, and it could forcibly raise its realm. However, this way, the Golden Scarf warrior would become a death warrior. He wouldn't stop fighting until the very end, unless Zhang Jiao was here. Even if Zhang Liang was here, it would be useless. At this very moment, Tao Sheng had clearly become ruthless. This was because he did not dare to delay any longer. If he delayed any longer, the soldiers he brought along, as well as the Golden Scarf warrior, would all die. Both Wu Heng and Pei Yuan Shao's faces paled when they saw this. Because Tao Sheng had crushed the Jade Talisman without Zhang Liang's permission, he was likely to be punished by Zhang Liang. However, when they thought of the current situation, Wu Heng and Pei Yuan Shao returned to normal. The Khanate realm can definitely catch up with the cavalry of Samsara City. In this way, no matter how powerful the three generals are, they won't be able to protect their soldiers. Tao Sheng exhaled deeply and said in a deep voice, "General, don't worry. When the time comes, we'll definitely plead for you. If General Ren wants to punish you, we're willing to bear the responsibility." Wu Heng and Pei Yuan Shao looked at each other, then turned to Tao Sheng and bowed with cupped fists. When Tao Sheng heard this, he was stunned. Then, he shook his head and said, "If General Ren wants to punish this matter, it has nothing to do with you. Don't get involved." At the forefront of the army of Samsara City, Wen Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He saw the Golden Scarf warrior suddenly emitting a red light. Their faces paled. This was because the Golden Scarf warrior had not only been forcibly raised by a realm, but his speed had also increased by a large margin. He was no slower than a warhorse galloping. If this continued, the army of Samsara City would definitely be caught, and then they would be in danger. After all, the soldiers under their command were all new recruits. Compared to the Golden Scarf warrior who had already reached the Khanate realm, they were far too weak. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar sounded. Rumble. The sound came from afar. In just a few seconds, a man riding a golden, heavenly horse appeared from a fork in the road blocked by trees. The man was wearing a long white robe. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his cloak rustled behind him. His face was cold, and his eyes were resolute. His aura was imposing even as he galloped. In the next second, a troop of 10,000 cavalrymen riding savage rhinoceroses appeared. Their auras were strong, and their eyes were as sharp as blades. It was as if they were going to cut through everything. "It's the Lord." Guan Er's eyes widened the moment he saw the young man. He then shouted. Fortunately, the Lord came in time. Otherwise, Zhang Yi shouted in ecstasy, "Ha ha! The Lord is here." These damned Golden Scarf warriors are in trouble. Zhang San laughed and shouted. Rumble. 10,000 rhinoceroses galloped, and the earth rumbled. Yi Chun, who was galloping, could not help but raise his eyebrows. F***CK. Another Golden Scarf warrior, and there are so many of them. It's time for a big harvest again. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, he realized that something was wrong and looked over. In the next second, Yi Chun's eyes widened. F***CK. It's a big fish. Is it Zhang Jiao, Zhang Bao, or Zhang Liang? No matter which one it is, they can forget about escaping. Yi Chun thought of this and laughed. He waved his right hand, and the black and thick Godslayer appeared instantly. He then shouted, "Charge! Kill! Kill! Kill!" Deafening roars sounded instantly. In the next second, the Samsara Legion followed Yi Chun and activated charge mode. They rushed toward the Golden Scarf warriors who were chasing after Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He. At the Golden Scarf Warrior's base, Tao Sheng looked at the Samsara Legion that suddenly appeared on the battlefield. His eyes narrowed and he shouted in shock, "What are those rhinoceroses? What the hell is that mount? Why is it here?" Tao Sheng did not recognize the wild rhinoceroses, but this did not stop him from being shocked. Every single one of them had a ferocious and violent aura. They were huge and armed to the teeth. Even the places that were not covered by the armor were covered in thick scales. It was obvious that these rhinoceroses were not to be trifled with. Not to mention, these rhinoceroses were currently charging. Even if the Golden Scarf Warriors were hit by them, they would most likely be crippled. Just as Tao Sheng thought of this, his eyes narrowed again. This was because he heard the cries of the Samsara Legion and felt the intense killing intent of the Samsara Legion. Even though he was far away, Tao Sheng could not help but shiver. That killing intent and aura were so terrifying that even his soul could not help but tremble. Chapter 388. Tao Sheng wanted to control the fear in his heart, but he couldn't. The Samsara Legion gave him an extremely strong sense of danger. It was so strong that he couldn't imagine it. How? How is this possible? Deputy General Wu Hong suddenly exclaimed. Were those cavalrymen? Are they all Emperor-level generals? Pei Yuan Shao looked at the charging Samsara Legion and shouted in shock. Wu Hong and Pei Yuan Shao also felt an extremely strong sense of danger at this moment. They had a feeling that once they came into contact with the Samsara Legion, they would die without a burial ground. They were all Emperor-level generals. When facing an Emperor-level general, especially one that didn't hide and released its aura without restraint, they would definitely feel danger. At this very moment, the Samsara Legion, without exception, gave them a feeling of danger. And this was exactly what shocked them. It wasn't easy to see Emperor-level generals. Even if they did, it would only be 1 or 2, at most 3 to 5. But now, what did they see? 10,000 existences gave them a sense of danger. The truth was very obvious. The soldiers of the Samsara Legion were all Emperor-level generals. At the thought of having to fight with such existences, their faces suddenly turned pale. There was no way to fight at all. It was useless to fight with all their might. If they couldn't win, they would be crushed even if they fought with all their might. They were very clear about the strength of the Xiantian realm, especially those who had reached the Emperor level. Even they couldn't fight head-on, let alone the soldiers under them. While Tao Sheng, Wu Hong, and Pei Yuan Shao were inexplicably shocked, the soldiers of the Golden Scarf Army all revealed timid expressions. Some of them even trembled in fear as they tried to retreat. Afraid before the battle, they appeared in groups among the Golden Scarf Army. They were intimidated by the aura of the Samsara Legion, the huge size of the wild rhinoceros, and the ferocious aura. At this moment, the rumbling of the earth sounded again. It was getting closer and louder. In the next second, a large flag with the word Yi on a black background fluttered in the wind. Then, a group of galloping cavalrymen appeared on the battlefield. The moment the huge cavalry army appeared, the diamond flashed. Tao Sheng, who was in a state of panic, immediately regained his senses. Then, his eyes suddenly shrank as he shouted sternly. Not good. Quickly report this to General Ringong. The information was wrong. The Golden Scarf strongman can't stop Yi Chun. Tao Sheng already knew that Yi Chun could summon the White Tiger, but he didn't expect that Yi Chun's subordinates would be so strong that it was terrifying. There were actually 10,000 Emperor-level generals. Even if he did not summon the White Tiger, he would not be able to stop such an existence. If he summoned the White Tiger, there was no way he could stop him. If the Samsara Legion did not have their rhinoceroses, and Yi Chun could not summon the White Tiger, then he would still have a fighting chance. But the truth was that it was just his imagination. Rumble! 10,000 bulls galloped, and the earth trembled. Yi Chun took the lead and charged towards the 50,000 Golden Scarf strongmen. He swung the Godslayer in his right hand without hesitation. Zila! 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 Several sounds could be heard. The heads of 5 Golden Scarf strongmen instantly flew up. The golden protective light that they were so proud of, as well as their incomparably strong defense, did not buy them even a second. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of 5 bodies exploding could be heard. The Pegasus shout, Jean did not stop and continued to charge forward. The Golden Scarf strongmen were constantly sent flying and crashed to their deaths. Yi Chun, who was riding the Pegasus shout, Jean, swung the Godslayer in his right hand again and again. It was simple and crude. One by one, the Golden Scarf strongmen were killed on the spot, and then their bodies exploded into countless pieces. Whoosh, 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 one after another, all kinds of shining items were dropped with the death of the Golden Scarf strongmen. If there were players here and saw these items, they would definitely go crazy with jealousy. This was because none of the items dropped were trash. The worst equipment was at least Earth grade, and most of them were Heaven grade. What made people even crazier was that the cultivation techniques on the ground were everywhere. The worst was an Emperor-level cultivation technique, and the rest were all Saint-level cultivation techniques. Boom, boom, boom. The Samsara Legion arrived, and the long spears in their hands shook at the same time. Buzz, buzz, an earth-shaking buzzing sound could be heard instantly. The long spears in the hands of the Samsara Legion instantly lit up with balls of white light, and then they stabbed at the Golden Scarf strongmen. Puff, 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 countless sounds could be heard. The Golden Scarf strongmen were instantly pierced through by the Samsara Legion soldiers, and then lifted up and sent flying. Boom, boom, boom. The Samsara Legion rushed forward, and nearly 50,000 Golden Scarf strongmen were wiped out in less than 10 minutes. None of them survived. In the distance, when Tao Sheng saw this, he suddenly shivered. Then, he turned to the messenger who had received the order, but had been scared out of his wits by the scene of the Samsara army killing the Golden Scarf warrior. He roared, "Bastard! Go and report to General Run. Evacuate immediately. Quick!" In the army camp of Samsara City, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He, who were rushing forward, all opened their eyes wide at this moment. They knew that their lord and the Samsara Legion were very strong, but now that they saw it with their own eyes, they realized that they had underestimated the strength of their lord and the Samsara Legion, especially their lord, Yi Chun, who was unbelievably strong. It was extremely easy for him to kill the Golden Scarf strongmen who had advanced to the innate realm. Thinking of this, the 3 of them laughed together, and then they raised their weapons, raised their arms, and shouted, "My lord, long live victory! Long live victory!" The 300,000 soldiers under Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He, and the 700,000 soldiers of Samsara City who had just entered the battlefield, all raised their weapons and shouted, "My lord, long live victory! Long live victory! Long live victory!" The earth-shattering roar instantly resounded in the wilderness. The morale of the army of Samsara City rose again and again, while the morale of the Golden Scarf army fell again and again. How could the Golden Scarf soldiers not know what kind of existence the Golden Scarf strongmen were? That was the trump card of their General Heaven Duke, Zhang Jiao. In their eyes, the Golden Scarf strongmen were invincible and no one could hurt them. But now, the invincible Golden Scarf warrior in their hearts had been chopped like vegetables, and it had only taken the time it took to brew a cup of tea. At the Golden Scarf Army's camp, Tao Xing naturally noticed that the morale of his soldiers was falling rapidly, but he only had one thought at this moment. How could he leave this place as soon as possible? The Samsara Legion was too terrifying. His soldiers could not compete with the Samsara Legion at all. It was useless even if he ordered his soldiers to drink talisman water. There was only one situation that would lead to a one-sided slaughter, and no one would survive. At the location of the Golden Scarf Army's commander's flag, Zhang Liang looked at Zhongshan County, which had not been taken for a long time, and his face was very ugly. "General Heaven Duke, let's use the Golden Scarf strongmen. Otherwise, we will not be able to get Jinjuju." Zhao Ritian looked at Zhang Liang, and then bowed and advised. Hearing this, Zhang Liang took a deep breath, and after a long exhalation, he shouted, "Golden Scarf strongmen, listen up. Attack the city. Capture Jinjuju for me." Chapter 389. Yes, General. Hearing this, the 150,000 gold-scarfed strongmen bowed in unison and then charged towards Zhongshan County. Zhao Ritian looked at the 150,000 golden-scarfed strongmen that joined the attack. He squinted his eyes and smiled viciously. However, he quickly regained his composure. He had schemed and tried his best to lure Zhang Liang to Zhongshan County to deal with Yi Chun. He wanted to kill Yi Chun. However, Zhang Liang did not dare to fight with Yi Chun. Hence, he decided to lure Zhang Liang to kidnap Zhenju Sei. The reason was simple. Zhao Ritian was a player. He knew Yi Chun's history very well. At least, that was the truth from his point of view. Zhao Ritian was disappointed that he could not kill Yi Chun. However, it did not matter. Even if he could not kill Yi Chun, he still had to disgust him. As long as he could disgust Yi Chun, he would be very happy. Kidnapping Zhenju Sei was undoubtedly the most disgusting thing that could disgust Yi Chun. Even though Zhenju Yan was still very young, her status as a top-tier historical beauty was undeniable. From Zhao Ritian's point of view, as long as Yi Chun knew that Zhenju Sei was kidnapped by Zhang Liang, he would definitely feel as if he had eaten a fly. This was exactly what Zhao Ritian wanted to see. However, Zhao Ritian did not expect Zhang Liang to be so stupid that he refused to use the Golden Scarf strongmen to attack the city. He was worried that the Golden Scarf strongmen would be injured if they were to attack the city. Zhao Ritian had no choice. In order to disgust Yi Chun, he had to lure Zhang Liang again. The result was very successful. Zhang Liang was tempted and used the Golden Scarf strongmen to attack the city. Hee, Yi Chun, I want to see how angry you will be when you know that Zhenju Sei was kidnapped. Zhao Ritian thought proudly and looked at Zhongshan County. On top of the city wall of Zhongshan County, Chu Yi and Gao Lan were in charge of two sides of the city wall. They were organizing the soldiers to defend against the attack of the Golden Scarf strongmen. Arrows were constantly shot out, and rolling logs were constantly smashed down. The corpses of the Gold Scarf army had already piled up like mountains, but the Gold Scarf army was still fearlessly attacking the city walls. The four walls of Zhongshan were the same. Reporting to the general, there is an emergency of arrows on the north wall. A messenger with a dark face suddenly ran in front of Chu Yi and bowed in a hoarse voice. Reporting to the general, there's an emergency of arrows and rolling stones on the eastern city wall. Another urgent report came in. Prepare the kerosene. Chu Yi's expression changed when he heard the report from the two messengers. Tian Feng, who was standing next to Chu Yi and observing the situation on the battlefield, was suddenly stunned. He then looked to the northeast and said with ecstasy, "General, don't panic. Look over there." After hearing Tian Feng's words, Chu Yi hurriedly looked around and then shouted with ecstasy, That's reinforcements. To be precise, it should be General of Agile Cavalry, Yi Chun. The danger of Zhongshan has been resolved." Tian Feng exhaled deeply and said, "Haha, God doesn't want me to die. The great General of Agile Cavalry has come. This group of Golden Scarf thieves will definitely die here." Chu Yi laughed wildly when he heard this, and then roared loudly. As soon as Chu Yi's words fell, the soldiers on the city wall widened their eyes and looked to the northeast. There, smoke and dust were billowing, and the diamond light was constantly flashing. A huge flag with the word Yi was fluttering in the wind. Although it was far away and they couldn't see it clearly, there were still soldiers with strong eyesight who saw the word Yi on the flag. The next second, the soldiers on the city wall suddenly cheered. "Ha! General of Agile Cavalry! It's General of Agile Cavalry! I see the flag of General of Agile Cavalry. We're saved! We're saved! God has eyes. There's no need to worry now. General of Agile Cavalry will definitely destroy these Gold Scarf bandits." When the soldiers on the city wall cheered, Tian Feng's eyes suddenly shrank, and then he shouted in surprise, "Quick! Prepare the kerosene." At this moment, Chu Yi also realized that something was amiss because a group of 150,000 bare-chested Golden Scarf soldiers had appeared on the battlefield. They were all muscular and had a golden barrier around their bodies. When the arrows landed on their bodies, they were directly repelled. Moreover, with their appearance, the gold scarf bandits attacking the city became even crazier, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Prepare the kerosene. Quick! Don't let those bandits climb the city wall. Chu-Yi saw this and suddenly gasped. Then he roared. The next second, the soldiers on the city wall hurriedly began to shoot, and those who were responsible for preparing the materials carried pots of hot kerosene to the battlements. In the Samsara city position, after Yi Chun led the Samsara Legion to kill the Gold Scarf Bandits, he directly looked at the flag of the Gold Scarf Bandits. He didn't know which of the three brothers it was. As soon as Yi Chun thought about it, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang Ji led the soldiers to Yi Chun. The three of them looked at Yi Chun with excitement and admiration. Then they all bowed and saluted. "Greetings, my lord." Yi Chun nodded with a smile, then looked at the three of them and said, "I'll leave these 700,000 soldiers to you for the time being. Remember, don't try to be brave. Focus on training and kill the Gold Scarf Bandits." "Yes, my lord." "Master." Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He bowed without hesitation when they heard this. Yi Chun nodded, then pointed the Godslayer in his right hand at the flag of the Gold Scarf Bandits, and then he shouted, "Charge! Kill! Kill! Kill!" The Samsara Legion shouted in unison, and a strong and violent, murderous aura instantly rose up. In the next second, the Samsara Legion directly followed Yi Chun and started to charge. Boom! Tens of thousands of bulls galloped, and the earth trembled. The Samsara Legion followed behind Yi Chun and charged at the Gold Scarf Bandits with a domineering, barbaric, and unparalleled aura. At the Gold Scarf Bandits' base, Tao Sheng, Wu Hong, and Pei Yuan Shao were all stunned when they saw the Samsara Legion charge. This was because the Samsara Legion's charge would not pass by them. They don't care about us. They don't attack us. Pei Yuan Shao said with a dazed expression. They can't reach us from that direction. Are they going to kill our soldiers first? Deputy General Wu Hong also said with a puzzled expression. Tao Sheng suddenly thought of something. Then he shouted in shock. Not good. Their target is General Duke. They're going to charge. What? They dare to charge with 10,000 people? Pei Yuan Shao was shocked when he heard this. Then he shouted. As soon as he shouted, his face froze. This was because he thought of the strength of the Samsara Legion. Every one of them was an emperor-level general. Together with their barbaric mounts, they were so savage that they had no friends. It was not impossible for them to charge directly. Pei Yuan Shao's face paled at this thought. The Samsara Legion's actions showed that they did not care about the Gold Scarf Bandits at all. However, Pei Yuan Shao really could not think of any reason to mock the Samsara Legion, nor could he think of anyone in the Gold Scarf Bandits who could stop the Samsara Legion's charge. Chapter 390. Yi Chun. That's Yi Chun. It must be him. At this time, Tao Sheng looked at Yi Chun, who was riding a golden Pegasus. His eyes suddenly opened wide, and he shouted. At this moment, he remembered the rumors about Yi Chun. He was young, handsome, a saint-level general, and had a golden Pegasus. Yi Chun, who was leading the Samsara Legion, was obviously very similar to the legendary general of agile cavalry, Yi Chun. To be precise, they were the same person. As soon as Tao Sheng finished his words, Wu Hong and Pei Yuan Shao were stunned and then shouted in unison, "How is that possible?" In their view, Yi Chun was the general of agile cavalry, the governor of Yuzhou, and the marquee champion. It was not surprising that he led the army. However, leading troops to battle and personally leading troops to charge into the enemy formation were two completely different things. It was too dangerous to lead the army in person. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. However, the fact was that Yi Chun led the army in person. Hearing this, Tao Sheng glanced at Wu Hong and Pei Yuan Shao and then said with a gloomy face, "It must be him. Damn it, how dare he? Even if he is very strong and his subordinates are all emperor-level generals, it's impossible for him to be invulnerable." Speaking of this, Tao Sheng's face suddenly darkened, and then he roared fiercely. Order all archers to attack Yi Chun with all their strength. Shoot him to death. Shoot Yi Chun to death, and we will have one less big enemy. It doesn't matter even if all the soldiers here die. As long as we kill Yi Chun, all the losses will be worth it. Tao Sheng wanted to inform Zhang Liang to leave as soon as possible, because Yi Chun and the Samsara Legion were too dangerous, and each of them was tyrannical. Such an existence was not something that the Golden Turban Army could fight against at the moment. If there were only 10,000 people of the Samsara Legion, it would not be a big deal. However, the fact was that in addition to the 10,000 Samsara Legion, there were also 1 million soldiers of Samsara City. What was even more terrifying was that the 1 million soldiers of Samsara City were all equipped with diamond equipment, and they were all cavalrymen. In terms of mobility, Jin couldn't compare. In terms of weapon attack power, Jin couldn't compare. In terms of range, Jin still couldn't compare. This way, if the Gold Scarf Army did not hurry and retreat, it would surely be a dead end. Therefore, Tao Sheng ordered someone to inform Zhang Liang to withdraw from the battlefield and leave Zhongshan County as soon as possible. But what Tao Sheng didn't expect was that the one leading the Samsara Legion was Yi Chun, who was known as the God of War in the Great Han Empire. What surprised him even more was that Yi Chun actually dared to personally lead an army into battle. No one in the Golden Scarf Army could stop the Samsara Legion, but it wasn't impossible for them to kill Yi Chun if they fought to the death. As long as they ignored the Golden Scarf soldiers around Yi Chun, all the archers could shoot with all their might and kill Yi Chun. From Tao Sheng's point of view, no one could block 10,000 arrows. No matter how awesome or strong a person was, they would not be able to block it. Moreover, at this moment, Yi Chun was so arrogant that he didn't even wear armor. Tao Sheng didn't want to miss such a good opportunity. Wu Hong and Pei Yuanshao's expressions changed when they heard this. They didn't expect Tao Sheng to give such a cruel order. But immediately, the two of them nodded heavily, and then said in a deep voice, "Yes. Okay, if you want to punish us, we'll take it." Wu Hong and Pei Yuanshao urged their horses to gallop toward the Golden Scarf Army. Before long, the archers of the Golden Scarf Army received the order. Attack Yi Chun with all your might, no matter the cost. Boom! Thousands of bulls galloped, and the earth trembled. Yi Chun led the Samsara Legion and rushed to the front of the Golden Scarf Army in the blink of an eye. Then they started to kill. The Godslayer flew up and down, taking the lives of the Golden Scarf soldiers one after another. The Pegasus Shao Jin rampaged and killed the Golden Scarf soldiers one after another. The spears in the hands of the Samsara army stabbed out again and again. The Golden Scarf soldiers were stabbed to death and sent flying. The savage rhinoceroses sent the Golden Scarf soldiers flying one after another. They vomited blood and died in midair. The Golden Scarf soldiers were sent flying. Some exploded in midair, some vomited blood and died in midair, and some were trampled into meat paste by the savage rhinoceroses after they landed. Boom! The Samsara Legion followed Yi Chun and charged again. No one could stop them, and no one dared to stop them. Behind them, a bloody path paved with broken limbs appeared. It grew longer and longer and extremely fast speed. However, after the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the Golden Scarf Army's archers all drew their bows and aimed at Yi Chun and the Samsara Legion. Yi Chun immediately noticed the abnormality in the Golden Scarf Army and narrowed his eyes. How ruthless! They did not even care about the lives of their soldiers. They were going against him and the Samsara Legion at all costs. He did not know who gave the order, but it was wishful thinking. Thinking of this, Yi Chun smiled coldly. With a thought, the Khanate spiritual treasure Fire Spirit Pearl appeared beside Yi Chun. Buzz! There was a sound. The Fire Spirit Pearl suddenly shook, and a ball of extremely hot flames instantly appeared and enveloped the Samsara army. At this moment, there was a dense sound of something breaking through the air. Swish! Swish! No less than 1,000,000 arrows covered the sky and descended in an instant. However, when the arrows came into contact with the flames, they all turned into ashes. As for the arrows that were shot at Yi Chun, without exception, When they were 3 meters away from Yi Chun, they instantly caught fire and burned into a pile of ash. Tao Sheng, who had been watching the battlefield, saw this and his expression changed. He shouted in shock, "How is this possible?" He did not expect Yi Chun to be able to control flames. This was completely beyond his understanding. In his heart, only the virtuous teacher Zhang Jiao could summon the wind and summon the rain. Now, the great enemy of the Golden Scarf Army, the general of the Great Han Empire, Yi Chun, could actually control flames. Furthermore, the flames were extremely powerful. Even the arrows could not pass through them. They were burned to ashes the moment they came into contact with the flames. How is this possible? Wu Heng and Pei Yuanshao also shouted in shock at this moment. They didn't expect Yi Chun to have this kind of ability. This was completely out of their expectations. The three of them were shocked by Yi Chun's means. How could the Golden Scarf archers who were attacking Yi Chun and the Samsara Legion not be shocked? In their eyes, Yi Chun's means were the means of an immortal, but they had actually attacked an immortal. In an instant, the Golden Scarf archers revealed expressions of fear and panic. No one dared to continue shooting, and some even threw away the bow in their hands. Even the Golden Scarf archers who had not attacked Yi Chun were frightened. None of them had expected that the one attacking them would be an immortal with immortal means. These Golden Scarf archers, even Zhang Jiao's fanatics, feared such an existence from the bottom of their hearts. This was the common characteristic of the natives of this era. Rumors were not frightening. What was frightening was the reality and seeing it with their own eyes. And now, Yi Chun's ability to control flames had frightened all the Golden Scarf archers. Yi Chun glanced at the frightened Golden Scarf archers and curled his lip in disdain. For Yi Chun, all the Golden Scarf archers here could be easily destroyed by Yi Chun. But Yi Chun would not do that, because Yi Chun wanted to train the soldiers and train them into an invincible army. Samsara City already had 410,000 soldiers in the Primordial realm. However, this was not enough. Yi Chun wanted all his soldiers to reach the Primordial realm and be invincible in the world. Chapter 391. Rumble. Tens of thousands of bulls galloped, and the earth rumbled. Yi Chun led the Samsara Legion and continued to charge, mercilessly reaping the lives of the Golden Scarf Army. Yi Chun's target was the commander of the Golden Scarf Army. Whether it was Zhang Jiao, Zhang Bao, or Zhang Liang, Yi Chun would not let them go. Yi Chun would not be polite to the Golden Scarf soldiers blocking his path. How could Yi Chun show mercy? Simply put, those who block his path will die. Run, run. A Golden Scarf soldier finally could not bear the pressure and collapsed. I don't want to die. I don't want to be punished by an immortal. Why is this so? Isn't heaven already dead? Why is there still an immortal coming to deal with us? I want to go home. Boo. The Golden Scarf Army began to collapse one by one, and then turned to flee. Tao Sheng's Golden Scarf Army began to flee. He immediately regained his senses, and then his expression changed. Quick, pass the order. Order all soldiers to drink talisman water. At this moment, Tao Sheng forcefully suppressed his fear of Yi Chun's identity as an immortal. He did not dare to think about it anymore. If he continued to think about it, he would lose all will to fight. Moreover, if the Golden Scarf Army was allowed to flee, the Golden Scarf Army would undoubtedly be defeated. He was a Golden Scarf general, and his duty was to lead the Golden Scarf Army to attack the Great Han Dynasty cities and kill the Great Han Dynasty soldiers. If the soldiers fled, he would definitely be punished by Zhang Liang and Zhang Jiao. This was not what he wanted to see. However, when Tao Sheng gave the order, no one responded to him. Tao Sheng was slightly stunned, and then he realized something that made him want to vomit blood. His messenger had actually escaped when he wasn't paying attention. Tao Sheng tried to calm his irritable mood, and then he roared with a livid face, "Heaven is dead. The yellow sky will rise. In 60 years, the world will be blessed." His voice was very loud, and it instantly covered half the battlefield. In an instant, the fleeing Golden Scarf Army slowed down. At this time, Wu Heng and Pei Yuanshao, who were in the depths of the Gold Scarf Army, also noticed the Gold Scarf Army's retreat. After hearing Tao Sheng's roar, they shouted without hesitation, "The azure heaven is dead, the yellow heaven shall rise. In the 60-year cycle, the world shall prosper." Waves of slogans instantly resounded throughout the battlefield. The fleeing Golden Scarf soldiers finally mustered up their courage and began to shout loudly, "The azure heaven is dead, the yellow heaven shall rise. In the 60-year cycle, the world shall prosper. Drink the talisman water, the virtuous master is with us." Tao Sheng's roar resounded again. As soon as he finished speaking, the Golden Scarf soldiers all widened their eyes. Their courage seemed to have been instantly restored. In the next second, the Golden Scarf soldiers took out bamboo tubes from their arms one by one, pulled out the corks, and directly drank the talisman water inside. At this moment, the bodies of the Golden Scarf Army soldiers glowed with red light. Their faces were flushed with excitement. "The heavens are dead, and the yellow heavens shall rise. In the 60-year cycle, the world will be blessed." The soldiers of the Golden Scarf Army roared crazily. "For the sake of virtuous master, we must bravely kill the thieves." "Kill!" Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, and Pei Yuan Xiao shouted at the same time. When the soldiers of the Golden Scarf Army heard this, they instantly became excited. Without hesitation, they charged toward Yi Chun and the Samsara Legion. The wooden spears, broken knives, and pitchforks in their hands were unhesitatingly aimed at Yi Chun and the Samsara Legion. However, all of this was futile. Yi Chun looked at the crazed Golden Scarf soldiers and curled his lips in disdain. He swung the Godslayer in his right hand again and again. Wherever the God-slaying spear passed, all weapons were destroyed, and severed limbs were sent flying. After that, there was a series of body explosions. No matter how crazed the Golden Scarf soldiers were, they couldn't stop Yi Chun at all. The Samsara Legion behind Yi Chun was the same. No one could get within 2 meters of the Samsara Legion. All the Golden Scarf soldiers who got close to the Samsara Legion were stabbed to death, without exception. "Charge! Charge again!" No one could stop them. Boom! Thousands of horses galloped and the earth rumbled. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang he led 1 million soldiers of Samsara City and kept shooting at the Golden Scarf Army. Groups of Golden Scarf soldiers were shot to death on the spot. Where the flag of the Golden Scarf Army was. Zhang Liang was stunned when he heard the Golden Scarf Army slogan. He turned around and looked. The next second, Zhang Liang's eyes narrowed and he shouted in shock, "How is this possible?" Zhang Liang rubbed his eyes in disbelief, then suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. He saw that half of the 5 million Golden Scarf soldiers behind him were gone. In less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea, too, 5 million Golden Scarf soldiers were wiped out just like that. Zhang Liang knew that Samsara City's army was coming. He also knew that Tao Sheng was leading the army to fight against Samsara City's army. However, what Zhang Liang didn't expect was that in such a short period of time, 5 million Golden Scarf soldiers who had participated in the siege and were behind him, including the 6 million Golden Scarf soldiers behind him. What was more terrifying was that the number of Golden Scarf soldiers being wiped out was still increasing. Zhao Ritian heard Zhang Liang scream and turned around to look. The next second, Zhao Ritian's eyes narrowed and he shouted in shock. "How is this possible? Yi Chun didn't summon White Tiger. How could he kill so many in such a short time?" Zhao Ritian had seen the power of the Golden Scarf soldiers. That was why he thought of using Zhang Liang to kill Yi Chun. However, the current situation was that the 50,000 Gold Scarf strongmen that Tao Sheng had brought with him were completely useless. Otherwise, how could the Golden Scarf soldiers be wiped out by Samsara City's army in such a short time? At this moment, Zhao Ritian saw a group of 10,000 Samsara City's heavy cavalry charging towards him. The moment he saw the cavalry, Zhao Ritian gulped down a mouthful of saliva. He recognized the origin of this cavalry unit. It was Yi Chun's personal guard, the terrifying, domineering, and murderous Samsara Legion. Thinking of this, Zhao Ritian quickly looked for Yi Chun. In the next second, Yi Chun's domineering figure appeared in Zhao Ritian's sight. Zhao Ritian shuddered when he saw Yichun. He then shouted in panic, "General, let's retreat. General Ringong, let's retreat quickly." Yichun's strength has increased again. Furthermore, he has more soldiers. Yichun's notoriety had long been known by the players. None of them were afraid of being killed by Yichun. Zhao Ritian was no exception. This was because if they were killed by Yichun in the game, they would most likely die in real life as well. Zhao Ritian dared to scheme against Yichun, but he did not dare to confront Yichun directly. He did not have the guts to do so. He still wanted to live. Once he died in real life, there would be nothing left. Zhang Liang's face darkened when he heard this. He then shouted, "How dare you? If you dare to run away again, I'll kill you with 1,000 cuts. General, let's retreat first. It's too dangerous here." Zhao Ritian's face changed when he heard this. He tried his best to calm his racing heart and said. Zhang Liang's face finally softened when he heard this. He then shouted, "That absolute beauty must be captured. Zhenju Sei must be captured. Only by capturing her can my Golden Scarf Army create a group of undying warriors. Every one of them will be a saint-level general." After Zhang Liang said this, he looked at the messenger beside him and shouted, "Don't worry. Go, gather the troops from the other 3 walls." "Yes, General." The messenger hurriedly bowed when he heard this. He then rode on his horse to pass on Zhang Liang's order. Zhang Liang then looked at the 150,000 Golden Scarf soldiers who had arrived at the bottom of the walls. He waved his right hand, and a golden light appeared out of nowhere. It then covered the 150,000 Golden Scarf soldiers. Zhang Liang's eyes widened when he saw this. He then shouted, "Attack the city! Capture absolute beauty, Zhen!" Chapter 392. As soon as Zhang Liang's words fell, the golden protective shield of the 150,000 Golden Scarf warriors shone brightly and became thicker and bigger. At the same time, Zhang Liang waved his right hand, and an ancient book appeared out of thin air. Zhang Liang glanced at the book and raised his right hand. He then shouted, "The heavens are dead, and the yellow heavens shall rise. I am Zhang Liang, general of the human race, and I am a Golden Scarf warrior. Come and help me. Everyone who participates will receive 1,000 gold and a recruitment order regardless of success or failure." As soon as Zhang Liang's words fell, a world announcement sounded. Ding! Golden Scarf Camp. Human race General Zhang Liang has used the Art of Peace scroll. Golden Scarf warriors in Zhongshan County have their overall defense and attack increased by 3 times. Morale plus 100. Lasts for 2 hours. Yi Chun, who was leading the charge, opened his eyes wide when he heard this. So was Zhang Liang. As soon as Yi Chun thought about it, the world announcement sounded again. Ding! Special storyline. The ownership of Zhenju has been officially triggered. Players in the Great Han Camp can participate and stop Zhang Liang from taking Zhenju away. If you succeed, you will receive a reward. If you fail, all players in the Great Han Camp will lose 5 levels. Ding! Special storyline. The ownership of Zhenju has been officially triggered. Players in the Golden Scarf Camp can participate and help Zhang Liang take Zhenju away. If you succeed, you will receive a reward. If you fail, there will be no punishment. The world announcement sounded 3 times in a row, and the entire world channel exploded. F***CK. Why is the human race General Zhang Liang in Zhongshan County? And why is he trying to steal Zhenju away? F***CK. Are you kidding me? Zhenju is only 2 years old. Why is he trying to steal her? Is Zhang Liang such a beast? I feel that Zhang Liang wants to snatch Absolute Beauty Zhen for something. You have to know that Absolute Beauty Zhen is the goddess of Luo, a top-tier historical beauty. Although she is still young, her status is still there. F***CK. That's not important. What's important is that if Zhang Liang steals Zhenju away, all players in the Great Han Camp will lose 5 levels. What are you guys worried about? Zhongshan County is not far from Yuzhou. Yichun will definitely go. Even if he fails, it doesn't matter. Yichun will also lose levels. What's there to be afraid of? F***CK. Now that you've said that, I'm relieved. Even if I lose a level, I have Yi Chun with me. There's nothing to worry about. Ah, that's right. But then again, what if Yi Chun kills Zhang Liang? That's a F asterisk king big boss. There are so many benefits. Let's go. We'll just make our move and get rid of Zhang Liang before Yi Chun does. Holy shit. If we can get rid of Zhang Liang, not only will absolute beauty Zhen be unsealed, she will even recognize me as her master. Stop wasting time. The teleportation portal can be used now. If you want to go, hurry up and teleport. F asterisk CK. Brothers of the Golden Scarf Camp. Can anyone tell me why Zhang Liang went to Zhongshan Prefecture? Why haven't I heard anything about it? What are you listening to? Who the hell knows why Zhang Liang went to Zhongshan Prefecture? However, this is a rare opportunity. Let's hurry over and get familiar with Zhang Liang. Maybe we can even get some benefits. If you want to go, you can go. F asterisk CK, I'm not going. That place is too close to Yuzhou. I don't want to provoke Yi Chun. F asterisk CK, what's there to be afraid of? Zhang Liang used the Taiping technique scroll and went to Zhongshan Prefecture. His attack power and defense power increased by 3 times. What's there to be afraid of? Besides, if something goes wrong, we can just run. There's no loss, and we can even get the benefits Zhang Liang promised. What's there to be worried about? Ha, don't bother with that idiot. How can he be a coward? Brothers, hurry up and return to your territory. The teleportation portal has appeared. We can teleport there directly. If there's a chance, let's all attack together and kill Yi Chun. Zhang Liang is here, and his attack power is increased by 3 times. Holy shit, we can't miss this opportunity. Yi Chun glanced at the world channel, which was buzzing with activity, and smiled coldly. The players had mixed thoughts. They wanted to get benefits, wanted Yi Chun to be unlucky, wanted to kill Yi Chun, but were worried about losing their benefits. There were all kinds of thoughts. At the end of the day, they were all selfish. Yi Chun could see through this, but he didn't have any special thoughts about it. The players could think whatever they wanted, but if they were Yi Chun's enemies, Yi Chun would mercilessly kill them, not leaving a single one alive. Just as Yi Chun thought of this, hundreds of teleportation portals appeared around Zhang Liang. The light of the teleportation portals lit up. Then, groups of players appeared on the battlefield with their soldiers. In the blink of an eye, the number exceeded 10 million. Looking at the rapidly increasing number of Huang army soldiers, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. They were just a bunch of weaklings. What was the use of increasing their attack power and defense power by 3 times? Thinking of this, Yi Chun raised the Godslayer in his right hand and shouted, "White Tiger Battle Formation." An extremely brutal killing intent exploded from the White Tiger's body. It became thicker and more intense. It sent chills down everyone's spine. Even their souls started to tremble. Following the appearance of the gigantic white tiger in the sky, the players who had just arrived on the battlefield were shocked. They all shuddered in unison. The ferocity of the white tiger had spread throughout the world. Everyone knew about it. There was no one who wasn't afraid, no one who wasn't terrified. White Tiger Battle Formation. It's the White Tiger Battle Formation. Damn it, Yi Chun is on the battlefield, and he's using the White Tiger Battle Formation. A scream came from the players who had teleported over. Damn it, why didn't the world announcement say that Yi Chun is here? F asterisk CK. F asterisk CK. Hurry up and run. Damn it, if you're killed by the White Tiger Battle Formation, you'll either be unconscious for 3 days or become an idiot. Damn it, if you're killed by the White Tiger Battle Formation, you'll be fine. If you're killed by Yi Chun, you'll really die in real life. The players from the Golden Scarf faction who had just arrived were excited for less than 3 seconds. Instantly, they started to panic. They never thought that Yi Chun would actually be on the battlefield in Zhongshan County. If they knew that Yi Chun was here, they would definitely consider coming over. However, it was too late. The teleportation circle of the Golden Scarf faction was obviously one way. They couldn't teleport back. On the city wall of Zhongshan County, Chu Yi, Tian Feng, and Gao Lan, who had arrived because the Golden Scarf army outside the 3 city walls had retreated, were dumbfounded as they stared at the white tiger floating in the sky. Looking at the white tiger's gigantic body and feeling its domineering aura, the three of them gasped in unison. Hiss, that was summoned by the general of agile cavalry? At this moment, Chu-Yi swallowed a mouthful of saliva and then shouted in surprise. It should be. Otherwise, that white tiger would have shown its killing intent to us. Gaolon nodded in shock. Innate battle formation. It's actually an innate battle formation. I didn't expect the great general of agile cavalry to use an innate battle formation. Tian Feng came back to his senses and shouted enthusiastically. Below the city walls of Zhongshan County, after being buffed by Zhang Liang, the attack power and defense power of the 150,000 Golden Scar Strongmen were increased threefold by the Taiping Technique Scroll. In an instant, they exploded with an extremely powerful aura. In the next second, they stepped onto the siege ladder and began to climb it. Their speed was extremely fast, as if they were running on flat ground. At this moment, Gaolon, who was shocked by the domineering aura of the Golden Scarf warriors, hurriedly looked down at the city walls. Then, his expression changed, and he shouted without thinking, "Pour out the kerosene." Chapter 393. Chu Yi's and Tian Feng's expressions changed at the same time. They had also noticed the abnormality of the Golden Scarf strongmen. Obviously, the 150,000 Golden Scarf strongmen had been blessed with strong attributes. Otherwise, they would not have become so fierce. Pour the kerosene. Chu Yi saw that the soldiers were still in a daze. He hurriedly mobilized his genuine chi and roared. Hearing this, the soldiers recovered from the shock of seeing the white tiger. They hurriedly poured the kerosene down from the battlements. As soon as the kerosene was poured down, the Golden Scarf strongmen were instantly drenched. However, a terrifying scene appeared. The Golden Scarf strongmen climbing the siege ladders were not affected by the kerosene at all. Even if the kerosene touched them and ignited a raging fire, it could not stop them at all. Seeing this, Gaolon and Chu Yi's expressions changed greatly. They looked at Tian Feng simultaneously. Seeing this, Tian Feng's expression suddenly changed. Without thinking, he waved his right hand in the air and shouted, "Sinkhole!" Rumble! A loud explosion was heard all of a sudden. The ground outside the city wall of Zhongshan Prefecture suddenly collapsed, revealing a huge pit that was more than 10 meters deep. Without exception, all the Golden Scarf strongmen who were attacking the city fell into the huge pit. On the city wall, Tian Feng's face suddenly turned red, and then he coughed violently. Cough, cough, cough. Tian Feng spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Brother Yuan Hao. Seeing this, Gaolon and Chu Yi were both shocked. They supported Tian Feng on both sides. It's okay. It's just that I've used too much of the military counselor's skills. I'll be fine after some rest. Tian Feng looked at Gaolon and Chu Yi gratefully and said, Brother Yuan Hao, go and have a rest. Leave it to me and Brother Chu Yi. I swear I won't let the Golden Scarf strongmen break in a Zhongshan prefecture. Hearing this, Gaolon hurriedly looked at Tian Feng and said with a serious face. Chu Yi nodded hard and then said in a deep voice, Brother Yuan Hao, go and have a rest. Leave it to us. Hearing this, Tian Feng shook his head without hesitation and said firmly, It's okay. I believe that General Liao Qi will be here soon. No matter how powerful the Golden Scar bandits are, they won't be able to resist the attack of the innate battle formation. In the Samsara City Army's camp, Guo Yi, who was calmly looking at the battlefield from his warhorse, smiled and pointed at the air with his right hand. Swamp. Following Guo Yi's words, a buzzing sound suddenly rang out. Below the city walls of Zhongshan Prefecture, the 150,000 Golden Scarf strongmen who had fallen into the deep pit were about to climb out of the pit. Who would have thought that what they were holding in their hands was no longer soil, but silt? The soil under his feet also turned into mud at this time. Chapter 394. Zhang Liang did not expect the power of the White Tiger's attack to be so terrifying. With just a flash of light, at least 3 million Gold Scarf soldiers were wiped out. Not even their bones were left. The White Tiger's power has increased again. A Gold Scarf faction player suddenly screamed in horror. It was obvious that this player had seen Yi Chun use the White Tiger formation at least twice before. As soon as he finished speaking, the Gold Scarf faction players, who had been scared silly by the White Tiger's terrifying attack, instantly went into an uproar. F***CK. Didn't I say we shouldn't have come? Coming here is going against Yi Chun's luck. We'll definitely be taught a lesson by Yi Chun. F***CK. Who the F***CK knew Yi Chun was here? If I knew Yi Chun was on the battlefield, I wouldn't have come here even if you beat me to death. F***CK, this is bad. I brought my soldiers. If we're all wiped out, we'll have nothing left. Let's think about how we're going to survive first. F***CK. If we get killed by Yi Chun's White Tiger, we'll either be unconscious in the real world or become retarded in the real world. If we get killed by Yi Chun personally, we'll probably die in the real world too. F***CK. What kind of bullsh**T quest is this? It's just a trap to get us to our deaths. F***CK Zhang Liang. I'm leaving first, I'm leaving too. The Gold Scarf faction players discussed noisily. Then, they all turned around and ran without hesitation. At this moment, these Gold Scarf faction players, without exception, all felt regret. From their point of view, they should not have come to Zhongshan County. The rewards that Zhang Liang gave were not enough to make up for their losses. As for helping Zhang Liang steal Jinju, at this moment, no one was thinking about it anymore. It was simply impossible. If Yi Chun was not here, it might have been possible. However, the problem was that Yi Chun was on the battlefield, and he had even killed his way over. If they did not run now, their soldiers would be wiped out in the real world at the very least. No one was willing to take this risk, especially when the White Tiger's power was even more abnormal than before. Zhongshan Prefecture, on the city wall. Gaolan, Chu Yi, and Tian Feng widened their eyes as they looked at the bloody path left behind by the White Tiger's attack. They naturally knew that the White Tiger's power was not small, but no one would have thought that the White Tiger was actually tyrannical to such an extent. After one strike, 1/3 of the Golden Scarf army on the battlefield was wiped out. Gaolan looked at White Tiger and said with shining eyes, General Liao Qi really lives up to his reputation. The Golden Scarf rebels and the Demon Clan won't be able to escape General Liao Qi's purge. More than that, I think the world will belong to the great general of agile cavalry sooner or later. Chu Yi laughed out loud when he heard this. Both Gaolan and Tian Feng were stunned by Chu Yi's words. That was because Chu Yi's words were too straightforward. He was blatantly telling Gaolan and Tian Feng his intentions. He, Chu Yi, believed that Yi Chun, the general of agile cavalry, would become the master of the world. Moreover, he had already made up his mind to follow the great general of the light cavalry Yi Chun. After Gaolan and Tian Feng came to their senses, they looked at each other, then looked at the incomparably huge White Tiger on the battlefield and said in unison, yes, General Liao Qi should be the master of the world. Obviously, these two people had long had the idea of relying on Yi Chun. Otherwise, they would not have said so. Chu Yi laughed when he heard this, then said, Brother Gaolan, Brother Yuan Hao, it seems that we have the same opinion. Alas, I'm just worried that General Liao Qi will look down on us. Gaolan suddenly sighed and said. Chu Yi's face stiffened when he heard this. Then he said, I don't think so. Tian Feng glanced at Gaolan and Chu Yi, then said with a smile, Don't worry. Don't worry. I once heard that the great general of agile cavalry is recruiting capable soldiers. Moreover, the great general of agile cavalry's Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, Zhao Yunzheng, and the other generals all came from humble families. General Gao Shun is an orphan. However, not only are they valued by General Liao Qi, but they are also directly entrusted with important tasks. Therefore, Brother Gaolan, Brother Chu Yi, you don't have to worry at all. Gao Lan and Chu Yi's eyes lit up when they heard this, and then they looked at the battlefield, or, to be precise, at the white tiger. The next second, they said in unison, "No matter what the result is, we have to give it a try." In the army of Samsara City. Rumble. Thousands of horses galloped, and the earth rumbled. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He led the army of Samsara City to kill the Golden Scarf soldiers. Then they were all stunned, because they saw the horrible scene after the white tiger's attack. Looking at the long bloody mist and smelling the bloody smell floating in the wind, the three of them gasped at the same time. The next second, the three of them raised their weapons and shouted, "My lord, victory! Victory! My lord, victory! Victory!" The roar that shook the heavens and earth was instantly heard from the army of Samsara City. At this moment, the army of Samsara City looked at the white tiger on the battlefield with eyes full of enthusiasm. They had seen their lord, Yi Chun, with his domineering and overbearing strength. And now, they saw their lord, Yi Chun, with his invincible and unparalleled strength. For them, to be able to follow such a lord, they were proud and excited, because their lord was a powerhouse, an invincible powerhouse. This was the worship of powerhouses from the bottom of their hearts. Not only them, but Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He were no exception. Even Gao Lan, Chu Yi, and Tian Feng, who had not followed Yi Chun, were the same. At this moment, Guai Yi's voice was not loud, but it was very clear. "It's time to charge." When Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He heard this, their eyes suddenly widened, and then they shouted in unison, "Charge!" When the army of Samsara City heard this, they put down the bows in their hands and picked up the spears hanging on the backs of their horses. Then they shouted loudly, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The army of Samsara City shouted in unison, and their voices shook the sky. In the next second, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He led the army of Samsara City and charged toward the Golden Scarf Army, who were scared out of their wits. At the location of the Golden Scarf Army's commander's flag, Zhang Liang looked at the white tiger not far away, who was looking at him mockingly. His face turned green, then red, and then white. It was a wonderful scene. Zhang Liang wanted to curse, but he did not dare to. Before the Taiping technique was taken away, he might have had the courage. But now, the Taiping technique was taken away. He had no way to fight against Yi Chen's white tiger. Not only could he not fight back, he could not even escape. The white tiger's attack speed was too fast, and the distance was too long. In the blink of an eye, the white tiger had cleared a distance of 15,000 meters. How could he outrun the white tiger? Moreover, even if he escaped, Yi Chen would still chase after him. Zhang Liang knew this very well. Yi Chen could let anyone go, but he would never let Zhang Liang escape. At this moment, Zhang Liang only had one thought in his mind: how to get out of here safely. In order to come up with a solution, Zhang Liang did not even reprimand the Golden Scarf Army players who were running away. Just as Zhang Liang was thinking with a twisted face, the white tiger suddenly shook, then turned into a ray of light and disappeared. Yi Chen and the Samsara Legion appeared on the spot. Seeing Yi Chen and the Samsara Legion appear, Zhang Liang tried to calm his violently beating heart and then shouted, "Yi Chen, give me back the Taiping technique, and you can ask for anything." Chapter 395. Yi Chen glanced at Zhang Liang and curled his lips in disdain. He raised the Godslayer in his right hand and shouted, "Kill!" Swish! The Samsara Legion raised their spears in unison, their killing intent sword. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The Samsara Legion shouted in unison, and the Samsara Legion followed Yi Chen and started charging. Rumble! Tens of thousands of bulls galloped forward. The dust on the ground instantly flew up into the air. Zhang Liang was stunned when he saw this. He didn't expect that Yi Chen would attack as soon as he opened his mouth. He didn't give him a chance to negotiate at all. Zhang Liang, who was about to order his soldiers to stop Yi Chen, suddenly thought of something. His eyes widened and he shouted, "The heavens are dead, the yellow heavens shall rise. Everyone, drink the talisman water. The virtuous master is with you. As soon as Zhang Liang finished speaking, the remaining golden scarf soldiers, who were frightened by White Tiger's attack, instantly disappeared. Obviously, the same words were more powerful when they came from Zhang Liang's mouth. They immediately calmed the golden scarf soldiers. In the next second, the remaining golden scarf soldiers took out their bamboo tubes, pulled out the corks, and drank the talisman water without hesitation. When Zhang Liang saw this, he immediately pointed at Yi Chun, who was rushing over, and shouted sternly, "Kill Yi Chun. He is the biggest enemy of our golden scarf soldiers. Kill! Kill! Kill!" The golden scarf soldiers, who drank the talisman water, roared crazily and then rushed toward Yi Chun without fear of death. Looking at the golden scarf soldiers rushing toward him, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain and waved the God-Slayer in his right hand without hesitation. Crackle, crackle, crackle. Several sounds were heard. The golden scarf soldiers who rushed in front of Yi Chun were instantly cut into pieces. Bang, 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 a series of collisions followed closely behind. The golden scarf soldiers who were charging at Yi Chun were instantly sent flying by the Pegasus. In the eyes of others, the Pegasus Shao Jin speed should have been affected by the collision, but the truth was that the Pegasus Shao Jin was not affected at all. Because it had reached the mortal evolution state, it didn't belong to the mortal realm. In the novice region of the Three Kingdoms, there was nothing that could stop Little Gold. The Pegasus Little Gold didn't slow down in the slightest, but the golden scarf soldiers were sent flying by the Pegasus Little Gold. Yi Chun rode the Pegasus Little Gold. The God-Slayer in his right hand flew up and down, easily reaping the lives of all the golden scarf soldiers, blocking the way. At this moment, Zhang Liang, who had finished giving the order, suddenly clamped his legs on the horse's belly. Then, he turned the horse's head and madly galloped into the distance. Along with him was a group of personal guards. When Yi Chun saw this, he sneered. He realized that I wanted to take his head. However, it won't be so easy to escape. Thinking of this, Yi Chun curled his lips in disdain. He clamped his legs on the horse's belly, and the Pegasus Little Gold instantly understood. It immediately activated its maximum speed and flashed past. Bang, bang, bang. A series of collision sounds instantly rang out. The golden scarf soldiers blocking the Pegasus Little Gold were all sent flying into the air without exception. Then they spat out blood and died one by one. As for the golden scarf soldiers who wanted to attack the Pegasus Little Gold, their weapons were instantly shattered by the God-Slayer before they could even get within 1 meter of Little Gold. When the Samsara Legion saw this, they roared in unison, and a silver light flashed. The Legion technique, swift as the wind, aggressive as the fire, was instantly activated. The Samsara Legion, which was already very fast, sped up once again. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of violent collisions rang out one after another. The savage rhinoceros knocked away all the golden scarf soldiers in front of the Samsara Legion. The war horses galloped. Zhang Liang frantically urged his war horse to escape from the battlefield. He saw through Yi Chun's plan. Yi Chun wanted to take his head. Otherwise, Yi Chun would definitely activate the White Tiger battle formation and kill him directly. It was precisely because he saw through this that he sensed the hope of escaping and then put it into action without hesitation. To Zhang Liang, it didn't matter if all the golden scarf soldiers died, as long as he could survive and escape. At this moment, an anxious shout was heard. "General Run, wait for me, wait for me." When Zhang Liang heard this voice, his face instantly became extremely distorted. How could Zhang Liang not know who the person was? It was Zhao Riqian, who had told him about Zheng Jiren. When he thought of Zheng Jiren, the corner of Zhang Liang's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Zheng Jiren was indeed very useful, but now he couldn't get her. Not only couldn't he get her, but he might also lose his life at any time. Thinking of this, Zhang Liang couldn't help but look at Zhongshan County City. Over there was 150,000 Gold Scar strongmen trapped by the military advisor's technique. When the golden scarf soldiers were trapped, he tried to rescue them, but it was useless. His military advisor's technique was only superficial. He couldn't even get rid of Tian Feng's military advisor's technique, let alone Guiyi's. Otherwise, he would have conquered Zhongshan County a long time ago. Of course, this wasn't important. The important thing was that Zhang Liang wanted to see the Golden Scarf soldiers break free, but it didn't happen. Damn it! Damn it! When he thought of the 200,000 Golden Scarf soldiers that he brought being wiped out, Zhang Liang felt unwell. The Golden Scarf soldiers were the trump card of the Golden Scarf camp. It was the trump card army that his brother, Zhang Ju, had spent a lot of effort to create. Every one of them was the best of the best. Even without the enhancement, they could take on all the armies of the Great Han Empire head-on. Of course, this was what he thought before. It wasn't until he met the Samsara Legion that he realized that the Great Han Empire had an even crazier army. However, this didn't matter. As long as he could get exceptional beauty Zhun, he could use her blood to create a special rune. Then, he could create an invincible army of saint-level generals. However, he had failed without any suspense. Not only had he lost tens of millions of Golden Scarf soldiers, but he had also lost 200,000 Golden Scarf soldiers. All of this was because of Zhao Riqian, who had told him about exceptional beauty Zhun. Thinking of this, Zhang Liang's face suddenly became extremely twisted. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood. In the next second, Zhang Liang looked up at the sky and shouted, "From today onwards, Zhao Riqian's name will be removed from the Golden Scarf Army. Kill him and reward him handsomely." As soon as Zhang Liang finished speaking, the players in the Golden Scarf camp immediately received a system notification. In the next second, the world channel became lively. F*CK. Where is Zhao Riqian? Come over quickly. I'll buy you some candy. Zhao Riqian, since you're going to die soon, tell me where you are. Once I kill you, I'll split the reward equally with you. F*CK. I suddenly remember that this Zhao Riqian wanted to sell information about Yi Chun, but failed. In the end, he was set up and killed by Zhang Li. That's him. Hee, I didn't expect this kid to choose the Golden Scarf camp. He even offended Zhang Liang. He's a talent. The world channel was abuzz. Zhao Riqian, who was chasing after Zhang Liang, turned even paler. He didn't expect that he would be removed from the Golden Scarf camp by Zhang Liang. This way, he would become a sinner. The Great Han camp wouldn't want him. The Golden Scarf camp also wanted to kill him. He had nowhere else to go. No one would protect him. Anyone who saw him would kill him because there was a reward for killing him. Even if it was a player from the Great Han camp who killed him, they would still be able to accumulate war points. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the collision was getting closer and closer. Soon, Zhao Riqian, who was in a panic, woke up. At this time, Yi Chun, who was riding on the Golden Pegasus, arrived in front of Zhao Riqian. Without even looking, he swung his Godslayer. Swish! A sound was heard. Zhao Riqian's head flew into the air. Blood spurted out. At the same time, the tip of the Godslayer's spear flashed with a dark light. The soul-devouring ability was activated and devoured Zhao Riqian's soul. When Zhao Riqian's blood fell to the ground, Yi Chun was already 100 meters away. At this time, the system notification rang. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing the Golden Scarf trader, Zhao Riqian. You can find the Golden Scarf camp's human general, Zhang Liang, to receive your reward. When Yi Chun heard the system notification, he couldn't help but be stunned. This was Zhao Riqian? Yi Chun had just glanced at the content on the World Channel. Naturally, he knew that the Golden Scarf camp's players wanted to kill Zhao Riqian. However, Yi Chun did not expect that he would be able to get a reward from Zhang Liang for killing Zhao Riqian. F*CK. This mission is a little tricky. Thinking of this, Yi Chun pouted. He then looked at Zhang Liang, who was running for his life. In the next second, Yi Chun's Heaven and Earth Bow and Heaven Quake arrow appeared beside Yi Chun. Looking at the Heaven and Earth Bow, Yi Chun smiled. He then pulled the bow and aimed at Zhang Liang. In the next second, Yi Chun let go of his right hand. Shing! The Heaven Quake arrow left the bow and instantly turned into a meteor. Chapter 396. Zhang Liang, who was running for his life, suddenly felt his scalp go numb. Zhang Liang, who felt the abnormality, hurriedly turned his head to look. In the next second, his pupils suddenly shrank. A slender white light flashed and arrived in front of him in an instant. A feeling of extreme danger instantly rose in Zhang Liang's heart. However, before he could react, the white light directly pierced through his right leg and came out of the warhorse's stomach. Bang, bang, two sounds were heard. Zhang Liang's right leg, together with the warhorse he was sitting on, instantly exploded. Blood splattered everywhere. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. Ah! A mournful scream came out of Zhang Liang's mouth. Without the support of the warhorse, Zhang Liang instantly fell to the ground. Bang! A sound was heard. Zhang Liang fiercely fell to the ground, and then due to inertia, he rolled forward more than 10 times before stopping. The warhorse galloped. Yi Chun, who was riding the Pegasus Little Gold, saw Zhang Liang's miserable state and curled his lips in disdain. "You want to run after meeting me? Dream on." Thinking of this, Yi Chun smiled coldly and waved the Godslayer in his right hand. Sizzle, sizzle, a few sounds were heard. In the end, the golden scarf soldiers in front of Yi Chun were all killed by Yi Chun. Without any cover, the Pegasus Little Gold's speed suddenly increased again and then rushed out of the battlefield and chased after Zhang Liang. Protect General Ren. When Zhang Liang's personal guard commander saw this, his face suddenly changed, and then he pulled out the long sword at his waist and shouted sternly. When Zhang Liang's personal guards heard this, they immediately showed a desperate expression and then shouted loudly, "Kill! Kill! Kill!" In the next second, Zhang Liang's 1,000 personal guards turned their horses and rushed toward Yi Chun. At this time, Zhang Liang's personal guard commander directly rushed toward Zhang Liang and did not participate in the action of blocking Yi Chun at all. His purpose was very simple. He wanted to use the personal guard legion to buy time. Buy time for him to save Zhang Liang. He wanted to save Zhang Liang and escape with Zhang Liang. Yi Chun glanced at the personal guard commander who was sacrificing a pawn to protect the general. He curled his lips in disdain and flicked his left hand. A small fireball appeared in an instant and flew toward the incoming personal guards. Buzz, buzz, several sounds were heard. The small fireball that flew out expanded in the wind. In the blink of an eye, it became a large fireball that was comparable to a football field. Zhang Liang's 1,000 personal guards widened their eyes when they saw this. They had never expected Yi Chun to have the ability to control flames. They hadn't seen the shocking scene of Yi Chun using flames to block the arrows that filled the sky. But now, they saw something that they couldn't believe. While they were still in shock, a gigantic fireball descended upon them. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The fireball instantly smashed into Zhang Liang's 1,000 personal guards. Then, with crackling sounds, they burst into flames. Ah, huff, huff, huff. Miserable howls and the whinnies of war horses rang out one after another. However, in just a breath's time, the sounds disappeared without a trace. And at this moment, the flames were gradually extinguished. With the extinguishment of the flames, the fearless personal guards, along with their war horses, turned into ashes and scattered with the wind. Yi Chun glanced at the burning personal guards and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. After refining the flame spiritual pearl, his ability to control flames had improved a lot. It was a pity that because of the seal, he couldn't use it indefinitely. Thinking of this, the corners of Yi Chun's mouth curled up as he urged his horse to gallop towards Zhang Liang. On the battlefield, rumble. 10,000 horses galloped and the earth rumbled. Deafening battle cries, the clashing of weapons, and miserable howls echoed on the battlefield. The Samsara City army had already come into contact with the Golden Turban army. However, the Samsara City army was obviously in an advantageous position. That was because the Golden Turban army was made up of infantry, while the Samsara City army was made up of cavalry. 1 million cavalrymen and 1 million cavalrymen had charged. No matter how crazy the Golden Turban army was or how fearless they were, They couldn't stop the Samsara City army. Swathes of Golden Turban army were killed by the Samsara City army. Some were even knocked away by war horses or trampled to death. A path of flesh and blood soon appeared on the battlefield. There were countless corpses of Golden Turban army soldiers on that path. Some were mutilated, some had twisted limbs, and some were badly mutilated. However, none of these softened the hearts of the Samsara City army. Their willpower was firm, and they pressed forward courageously. They wanted to kill everyone who went against their lord, Yichun. No matter who it was, no matter how many there were, as long as they existed, they would kill them mercilessly. Among the Golden Turban army, Deputy General Wu Hong and Pei Yuanshao rode their horses to Tao Sheng's side. Wu Hong glanced at the Golden Turban army that was being slaughtered and then looked at Tao Sheng. "General, let's retreat. If this goes on, no one will survive." "Retreat? Where can we retreat to? 200,000 Gold Scarf strongmen have been annihilated. Over 10 million Gold Scarf soldiers have been annihilated. Where can we retreat to?" Tao Sheng immediately revealed a bitter smile when he heard this. Then, he spoke with an unwilling expression. "General, as long as the Green Hills remain, there is no need to worry about firewood. If we all die in battle, then there will be nothing left. At this moment, the soldiers have already drunk the talisman water. Virtuous paragons are not here, so there's no way to wake them up. They will only continue to fight until their deaths." Pei Yuanshao pondered for a moment before speaking. Tao Sheng took a deep breath and said, "It's no use. The sin of this defeat is too great. General Ren won't be able to escape. Earlier, I saw Cavalry General Yichun controlling the flame again and attacking the commander's flag. General Ren won't be able to escape. How is this possible?" Wu Hong and Pei Yuanshao were shocked. Tao Sheng's meaning was very simple. Cavalry General Yichun was chasing after Zhang Liang, so there was no way Zhang Liang could escape. Because Yichun had a Pegasus mount and could control the flame, Zhang Liang had no chance of escaping from Yichun. If Zhang Liang died here, even if they could escape, they would be captured by Zhang Ju and executed by 1,000 cuts. There was no doubt about this. No matter who pleaded for mercy, it would be useless no matter how great their contributions were. At this thought, Wu Hong and Pei Yuanshao's expressions became extremely ugly. "We have no way to escape, and we can't escape. We can only fight to the end. Otherwise, even if we survive, we will be sinners of the Golden Turban army. There will be no place for us in this world." Tao Sheng's right hand gripped his weapon tightly, and he shouted, "Kill!" With that, Tao Sheng's feet pressed against the horse's belly, and he rushed towards the incoming Samsara army. Wu Hong and Pei Yuanshao looked at each other, and then roared with a ferocious expression, "Kill!" In the next second, the two also rode towards the Samsara legion. Chapter 397. At this moment, Tao Sheng, Wu Hong, and Pei Yuanshao's faces were filled with grief and despair. They were helpless and had no way out. They could not retreat or run away. They could only fight. If they retreated or ran away, there would be no place for them in this world. Therefore, they had to fight. Even if they died, they had to fight. There was no other way. Rumble. Tens of thousands of horses galloped, and the earth shook. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He led the million soldiers of Samsara City to charge and kill the Golden Scarf soldiers in front of them. At this moment, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He opened their eyes and looked at Tao Sheng, Wu Hong, and Pei Yuanshao who were charging towards them. In the next second, Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He shouted in unison, one each, "Kill!" The roar followed. "Kill!" When Tao Sheng, Wu Hong, and Pei Yuanshao saw Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He charging at them, their eyes instantly widened in anger. They raised their weapons and roared with ferocious expressions. After a few breaths, the six of them faced each other and swung their weapons at the same time. Slash, slash, slash. 3 sounds were heard. Tao Sheng, Wu Hong, and Pei Yuanshao's heads flew up. Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He swung their weapons again. Slash, slash, slash. Three sounds were heard. The headless bodies of Tao Sheng, Wu Heng, and Pei Yuan Xiao, along with their horses, were split in half. Blood and internal organs flowed all over the ground. Rumble. The army of Samsara City arrived. The three soldiers in the front row reached out and grabbed the three heads that fell from the sky. Then, they followed Guan Er, Zhang San, and Zhang He and charged towards the Golden Scarf soldiers. Outside the battlefield, where Zhang Liang was. Cough, cough. Cough, cough. Zhang Liang shook his dazed head and coughed violently. Zhang Liang spat out mouthfuls of blood. He was riding a horse, but fell to the ground. He had suffered serious internal injuries. It was lucky that he was still alive. General Ren Gong, Zhang Liang's personal guard commander, cried out in alarm as he came to Zhang Liang's side. Hearing the shout, Zhang Liang immediately returned to his senses and looked at his personal guard commander. At that instant, a golden glow arrived with a flicker. The next second, a thunderous roar was instantly heard. Sigh! Zhang Liang's eyes narrowed. Then, he looked at the commander of his personal guards and shouted, "Be careful." Zhang Liang's personal guard's expression immediately changed. He had heard Zhang Liang's shouts, heard the thunderous neighing of war horses, and saw the figure that terrified him. The great general of agile cavalry, Yi Chun, arrived here on a Pegasus. Moreover, he was right next to him. Big beads of cold sweat appeared on his forehead in an instant. He never thought that Yi Chun would catch up to him so quickly. Previously, he had abandoned Zhang Liang's personal guards in order to use them to block Yi Chun and buy time for him to rescue Zhang Liang. Later on, he heard rumbling sounds and miserable howls. There were people and war horses, but he didn't dare to look back. He was afraid that he wouldn't have the courage to rescue Zhang Liang after seeing it, because he knew that the great general of agile cavalry, Yi Chun, was very ferocious. He was so ferocious that he was abnormal. But no matter how he thought about it, he didn't expect that 1,000 personal guards couldn't stop Yi Chun at all. If he had looked back just now, he would have known why the 1,000 personal guards were instantly silenced. Yi Chun glanced at Zhang Liang's personal guard commander and waved the Godslayer in his right hand mercilessly. Swish! A sound was heard. Zhang Liang's personal guard commander's head flew up in an instant. ZZ, ZZ, a column of blood immediately rose to the sky. The next second, a bang sound was heard. Zhang Liang's personal guard commander's body instantly exploded into pieces. At this moment, the system's prompt sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Guan Er for killing the Golden Turban General, Tao Sheng. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Zhang San for killing the Golden Turban General, Wu Heng. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Zhang San for killing the Golden Turban General, Pei Yuan Xiao. After hearing the system's prompt, Yi Chun couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Then he looked at Zhang Liang, who was covered in blood and missing a right leg. When Zhang Liang saw Yi Chun looking at him, his eyes suddenly shrank. Then he shouted in a stern voice, "Yi Chun, if you dare to kill me, my big brother won't let you go." At this moment, he felt Yi Chun's cold and ruthless killing intent. He knew that Yi Chun would definitely kill him, but he didn't want to die. He was a Golden Turban General and still had a great life to enjoy. How could he die so quickly? However, he couldn't think of any way to move Yi Chun, so he didn't hesitate to use Zhang Ju to threaten Yi Chun. But even if he used Zhang Ju, he didn't have the slightest confidence in his heart. This was because Yi Chun was too abnormal and too terrifying. He didn't belong to the mortal world at all. He could even snatch away the Taiping technique. That wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Yi Chun heard this and curled his lips in disdain. Then he said, "I'll take Zhang Ju's head too." After Yi Chun finished speaking, he stabbed the Godslayer in his right hand towards Zhang Liang without hesitation. Puchi! A sound was heard. Zhang Liang's heart was instantly pierced through. Zhang Liang's fierce expression froze. He then looked down at the Godslayer that pierced through his heart. Cough, 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 cough. After a few violent coughs, Zhang Liang looked at Yi Chun and shouted, "I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Hearing this, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain. He pulled out the Godslayer in his right hand and then waved it. Swish! A sound was heard. Zhang Liang's head flew up in an instant, and Yi Chen caught it in his hand. After glancing at Zhang Liang's head, Yi Chen directly put it into the storage space. At this moment, the system beeped. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Zhang Liang, the Duke General of the Golden Turban Camp. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with innate attribute points x 101 million purple coins. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen. Samsara City has obtained all the luck of the historical figure Zhang Liang. Samsara City's luck has increased. As soon as the system beeped, Yi Chen was stunned. Yi Chen didn't expect that Zhang Liang still had luck. After all, this guy didn't live long in history before he was killed. Well, it doesn't matter if it's less. At least Samsara City's luck has increased. Thinking of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but smile. At this moment, the system beeped. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Zhang Liang, the Duke General of the Golden Turban Camp. Because of his special status, Yi Chen is rewarded with innate attribute points x 100, recruitment order x5, heaven level, lottery x1. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Tao Sheng, the third historical figure in the Golden Turban Camp. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 1 million battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Wu Hong, the fourth historical figure in the Golden Turban Camp. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 800,000 battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for killing Pei Yuan Shao, the fifth historical figure in the Golden Turban Camp. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with 500,000 battle points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for completing the special quest, Ownership of Zhenju. Completion rate, 100%. Player Yi Chen is rewarded with innate attribute points x20, Earth level weapon blueprint, random, x2, Earth level armor blueprint, random, x1. Zhenju's seal has been lifted. Her age has increased to 16 years, and she will automatically recognize player Yi Chen as her owner. Chapter 398. The announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, and the entire world channel exploded. F*CK, are you kidding me? I just arrived at Zhongshan County. F*CK, Zhang Liang was killed as soon as he arrived? F*CK, Zhenju was snatched away again. F*CK, she even grew up. F*CK, what's the point of breaking the seal? Yi Chen took advantage of this. What you're talking about is not the point, okay? Look at what Yi Chen got. F*CK, innate attribute points. 120 innate attribute points. This can directly strengthen one's body. F*CK, Yi Chen is already so strong. With these 120 innate attribute points, how strong can he be? Idiot, you only saw the innate attribute points. Didn't you see the heaven-level soldier recruitment order? F*CK, Yi Chen can recruit another 500,000 soldiers. What I'm most curious about is what he can get from the lottery. It seems that no one has gotten a prize from the lottery since the game started. Now that I think about it, does Yi Chen's strength have anything to do with the lottery? I don't know if it's related or not, but I do know one thing. Yi Chen is a freak again. No one can stop him. Most importantly, Yi Chen got 3 equipment blueprints, and they're all Earth rank. Do you know what that means? That's right, Yi Chen. F*CK. I would have neglected this if you didn't mention it. F*CK. He can make equipment in batches with the blueprints. F*CK. Are you kidding me? Yi Chen is so rich. Won't every soldier in Samsara City have a set of Earth-level equipment? F*CK. That's really the case. Now, no one can stop Yi Chen. Don't worry too much. No matter how strong Yi Chen is, it has nothing to do with you. Are you the Lord? F*CK. I'm the Lord. Why else would I care about this? It's useless to care. Be wise and surrender. This world will belong to Yi Chen sooner or later. Boss Yi Chen is mighty and domineering. He's invincible. Boss Yi Chen is the most awesome. He'll kill anyone who doesn't agree with him. The World Channel was abuzz with activity. Yichen glanced at the World Channel and curled his lips in disdain. The players were envious and jealous, as usual. When they saw Yichen receive such a generous reward, they were all green with envy. Of course, other than envy, jealousy, and hatred, they were also worried and afraid. They were worried that no one would be able to control Yichen and that Yichen would snatch everything away from them. Because this was the three kingdoms, the world would soon be thrown into chaos. At that time, there would only be one thing that would happen, which was to attack and kill each other. Simply put, not long after, war would become the main theme of the three kingdoms' novice region. And this war was open to everyone. No matter who it was, they could start a war, fight, steal, as long as they were strong enough and fierce enough. As for Yichen, there was no doubt that he was the #1 player of the human race. He was strong enough, fierce enough, and overpowered enough. More accurately, not only had Yichen's personal strength reached a terrifying level, but his forces were also rapidly expanding. This was because Yichen had received 5 heaven-level soldier recruitment orders. He could instantly recruit 500,000 soldiers. Compared to other lords, it was much more convenient to recruit soldiers from the residents of the territory. Moreover, the soldiers would be more elite. What made the players most conflicted was that Yichen had also received Earth-level equipment blueprints. With the Earth-level equipment blueprints, they could be mass-produced. Soon, the Samsara City army would each have a set of Earth-level equipment. How could the players not have a headache when faced with such an army of Samsara City? The defense and attack power of Earth-level equipment were not to be trifled with. If they couldn't even break through the defense, how could they fight against the Samsara City army? And these were the reasons why the players were worried, afraid, and then terrified of Yichen. To Yichen, no matter how afraid or worried the players were, they could not stop Yichen's determination to conquer the world. Yichen wanted to ascend to the immortal realm. Anyone who dared to block this path, no matter who they were, would be killed by Yichen without hesitation. Of course, Yichen would not kill indiscriminately. He would only wipe out all the territories of the lords and abolish the status of the players as civilians. Yichen did not want to bring the players with him to the primordial world. Even if he ascended, he would bring the natives of the three kingdoms with him. Rumble! Tens of thousands of rhinos galloped and the earth rumbled. The Samsara Legion rushed in front of Yichen. Then, they stopped their rhinos and waited for Yichen's orders. Looking at the Samsara Legion, Yichen faintly smiled and shouted. He then shouted, "Go to the city walls of Zhongshan County and kill all 150,000 Golden Scarf warriors. Leave no one alive. Pick up all the dropped items. If anyone dares to come close, kill them without mercy." "Yes, my lord." The Samsara Legion bowed and replied loudly. Then, they turned their rhinos around and rushed toward the city walls of Zhongshan County. The Samsara Legion was already at the Overlord level and would soon advance to the Saint level. The only thing they lacked was experience. Killing the Golden Scarf warriors was undoubtedly the most suitable thing for the Samsara Legion at the moment. This was because the Golden Scarf warriors, especially the enhanced ones, had an extremely high amount of experience. For the Samsara Legion, the experience provided by the ordinary Golden Scarf warriors was negligible. On the battlefield, the killing continued. The Golden Scarf warriors were constantly sent flying and stabbed to death by the Samsara City army. Looking around, the ground was covered in blood and corpses were everywhere. Some had been dead for a long time, some had just died, and some were about to die. Miserable howls, angry roars, battle cries, the clashing of weapons, and the rumbling of war horses intertwined and echoed, forming a symphony of weapons. This was war. Death was the main theme, eternal and unchanging. There was no mercy here, and no mercy was allowed. Rumble! Millions of war horses galloped forward. The Samsara City army mercilessly killed all the Golden Scarf warriors in front of them. At this moment, the Golden Scarf army had lost their commander and general. They were like a sheet of loose sand. They only knew how to attack. They attacked instinctively and wildly like madmen. No one ran away or was afraid. Because they had all drunk the talisman water, they only had one thought in their minds: kill the enemy in front of them for the sake of the virtuous sage Zhangju. Yichen narrowed his eyes as he looked at the madmen of the Golden Scarf Army. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Zhangju must die. Just as Yichen thought of this, a cavalry of tens of thousands suddenly appeared outside the battlefield. When Yichen saw this, he immediately frowned, then returned to normal. It wasn't the players who came to take advantage of the situation as Yi Chen had imagined. It was the Beauty's Alliance, who were seeking Yi Chen's help. After they appeared, they quietly waited outside the battlefield. They didn't attack the Golden Scarf Warriors at all, because Yi Chen had said that only those who follow behind were allowed to attack the fleeing Golden Scarf Warriors in Yao. The Golden Scarf Warriors here clearly didn't plan to escape. Naturally, Yi Chen didn't allow them to attack. Therefore, the Beauty's Alliance didn't attack. They didn't dare to disobey Yi Chen's orders. At this moment, the city gate of Zhongshan County opened with a creak. In the next second, two men dressed as generals led a group of soldiers who were covered in dust, but were inexplicably excited to rush out. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.